Just seeing that's not a good sign to start. Error. It's Monday. There's an error. There's a graphical error, guys. Just bear with us. I'm not even sure if anyone can hear us. Hi, if you can, welcome. We'll get this sorted out. Just stay with us. Save. Spirit Airlines just halted. News pending here. Looks like the merger agreement has been completely axed. Shareholders will receive approximately $425 million in total prepayments as part of the termination with JetBlue. JetBlue will pay $69 million. So just reading this as it comes in here, but just be aware. Save, S-A-V-E, halted right now, news pending. So heads up, more details coming out on that JetBlue separation cost for JetBlue and Save. Otherwise, futures basically flat to start here. There's Save right now, dead flat. Nothing's happening because it is halted, so just be aware. Everything else kind of hanging out here as far as what is to come this week. We have a ton to look forward to. We get some manufacturing data again this week, ISM and S&P, but the big headline is going to be Wednesday and Thursday, 2 days in a row. Fed Chair Powell is going to be testifying in Washington this week, his semi-annual check-in with both the House and the Senate. So we'll get that again Wednesday and Thursday. It's usually midday, 10 a.m. on kind of thing for as long as it lasts. So every time this happens, it's definitely a market-moving event. So keep that in mind again, Wednesday and Thursday coming up this week. Number of things to talk about as far as individual names moving around this morning. We have SMCI to the upside in a big way going into the S&P 500. Deckers, DECK, also going into the S&P 500, both higher on that this morning. Late on Friday, we got that news about Fisker and Nissan, possibly teaming up with Nissan, so we'll touch on that as well. It's Monday, March 4th, 2024. Tradertv.live starts now. Software doesn't like Mondays either, but we'll continue along. Bear with us here, guys. We're working on the graphics. They'll be back shortly. There's the overall market. We are set to open here this morning, basically flat. 0.04, tough to see, but that's a daily chart. So you get a little bit of a better picture as to what is going on. Since the end of October, it's been nothing but straight to the upside for stocks. A lot of that coming on the back of semiconductor strength, tech strength in general. We get new Apple or MacBook Airs this morning as well. So we'll touch on Apple coming up here. But going into a week where there's some not significant economic data, but notable economic data, and then Fed Chair Powell going to speak 2 days in a row. Lots to look forward to.
Yeah, we'll see how yields are doing. Well, the yields are both up right now, 1.25% for the 10-year and 1.17% for the 2-year. So we'll keep an eye on those. But the headline that I'm keeping my eye on today is this new antitrust lawsuit by the EU against Apple, alleging that they basically used anti-competitive practices to keep out other music streaming services. There was a complaint filed by Spotify back in 2019, and this is the culmination of that investigation. So I've got an order waiting at 175 for Apple, Brendo, and we're awfully close, 176 and a quarter at the moment.
Yeah, it's down 1.6 right now, 1.6%, about $3 on the morning. So we'll keep an eye on Apple, but again, some new products. That's how much they're worried about this. You find they launched brand new MacBook Airs the same day that this comes out. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Apple. Basically 2 session lows dragging down the overall market as well. Yep. Just keep in mind as well, we'll keep an eye on the Save. If you missed it, SAVE, halted, news pending. More details on the JetBlue separation coming out this morning, so Save still halted here. Sean with the day off today. Obi's back in with us again this morning. Good morning, guys.
Yes, sir. Sean, of course, much needed day off because he needs to install another 5 smoke detectors in his house, so we can double that one up. It was weird. Anyone that didn't catch the podcast, anyways, listen to it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but there was some discussion about the number of I guess. Well, he had smoke detectors and he had like a CO2 detector. But I just got this because Obi's on, which means he's got his book of notes, which I think is amazing. You always have to have your preparation in there. We'll talk about a few stocks that are going to be on that list, but it just goes to show you got to put in the work. I have an iPad. He tries to kick it old school. Sean's got the sticky notes. But we're going to talk some SMCI today, getting added to the S&P 500. Apple's trend still to the downside. EU. Oh, goodness. Maybe Fisker is going to stay alive. We'll see what happens there. And Nvidia closes above the $2 trillion mark. That is flying again here today. There's a heck of a lot to watch this week. You got Fed a little bit later on. You got some earnings plays. But, oh, yeah, what's that other thing? It's Bitcoin hit 65,000 and still going. So I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. It's going to be a fun and interesting trading week for sure.
Suddenly I feel like I don't know what I'm doing for the day. I don't know why.
Yeah, I have no idea why.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like all the notes are just poof. I'm joking. It definitely, I think AI is definitely on watch as long as we kind of hold up some of the levels that we did from last week, or maybe we don't. Who knows? We did define some interesting levels last week as well. So whether we come in and test those or we make some fresh levels, I think we're definitely going to be a little ready for those potential moves.
What are you doing with this thing? Because to me, we're still making highs, man. I didn't be convinced we're not bulls.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the week, so I have no idea. We did end off quite strong last week. If you see Nvidia closes the week at the same place of prior week high, pretty much about a point away from each other, and then now we're kind of gapping up. So that's very interesting. I don't know if we're going to continue.
You can't really.
But as of right now, we did kind of gap up. But yeah, I don't know. That might need to be changed midway through, but it does seem like that.
I just realized you can't actually do like half and you got to pick one.
Yeah.
There's no effective way to make it half bull, half bear. So I don't know. Let's just go bull because it's more fun. How about that?
Yeah.
And then you can change it after if you want. I just don't like changing mine from the bull in the bull market unless there's a good reason to. Apple's in the bear market. Tesla might be in the bear market as well. But it's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a hectic week in terms of trading action, all starting off with some Bitcoin and SMCI today, probably leading a lot of people's minds. The futures might be flat, but there's lots to trade, guys.
All right, lots to get into this morning. Yeah, SMCI, a huge mover. Here's Deckers as well. Yeah, if you watch the podcast, we were talking about this. Literally, as we were sitting here recording the podcast late on Friday, this came out 5 o'clock, I think it was, or maybe even later after the close on Friday. SMCI and Deckers get the nod to go into the S&P. So yeah, Deckers straight to the upside. I wasn't overly familiar with this company whatsoever. It's one of those stocks I think we only talk about during earnings season, if it pops up one morning when earnings beat for whatever reason. But yeah, clothing brand going in with SMCI. Everyone's very familiar with SMCI. Just absolutely crazy movement up to 1,100 and change. More positive analyst moves across the board for SMCI today. Yeah,
we'll see how they do today. Obviously up big already on the day with a market cap now of over 50 billion. Typically to make it into the S&P, you usually have a market cap of around 35 or greater, so they meet the threshold there. Guys, this stock is up 50-fold in the past 2 years, up over 200% since the start of this year. Extended is probably an understatement here, but it could continue to see more because Nvidia's valuation makes sense from an actual perspective of how much revenue they're bringing in. Forget about the move up. It's jiving with the fundamentals so far. So even though you think it may be running, I think that there is some more good room.
Yeah, you pointed out this morning, I think before we came on, or maybe it was Obi, we were talking about these changes that are going to come up for the S&P. Deckers going in, Zion, yeah, you mentioned this. Zion Bancorp coming out of the S&P 500 for DECK, so one to watch today. MSTR, Neil, you were talking Bitcoin there. MSTR, like this is 10.5% already today. There's 2 or 3 additional positive notes on MicroStrategy. I mean, this is almost a pure ETF at this point as well. Back to $1,100 here for MicroStrategy this morning.
Oh, I didn't hear that, but I'm assuming you guys heard the congratulations. That's hit it again? Okay.
There it is.
I can do
heard
that.
it this time,
Do you want me to hit it one more time, Fabes?
Hit it every time for every 10,000 that BTC has gone up.
We should really do, like, every time an even break happens on BTC, we should do it. Maybe when MSTR hits 12.5, that would be a good time to hit it as well. So, look, obviously, Bitcoin moves, this is going to move. I don't care what you're tracking, but here, I'll show it just because there's the breakaway from 65,000 as we speak on BTC. Why? Oh yeah. Why is this scaled so ridiculously? It doesn't really matter. You guys get the idea. We did have some over the weekend tops above the 65,000 level, so we've been there for a hot minute. But whether you're looking at Coin, which I'll be watching today, Mara gapping nicely, MSTR as we talked about, Riot, all those bad boys have looked fantastic. Now keep in mind a couple of things here. Like, essentially what you've had happen, let me just go to the daily on like IBIT, because let's look at one of the ETFs. Obi and I were mentioning this, or just talking to ourselves, without a hot mic. Apparently some people had a hot mic on, or heard the hot mic on Brendan before the show started and it opened up. But what you've had in Bitcoin has been the rally after the ETFs, into the ETFs, the sell the news, the bounce off 38. Now we're getting the rally into the halving. Probably what's going to happen in the halving.
It's probably going to take a little bit of a breather, as it has every single time we had a halving.
Then what?
Afterwards.
Then do we go to the million the Kathy Wood's been talking about? Maybe that's what happens, but we'll see. At the end of the day, it's been a strong move up. Whether you're invested in one of the equities, the ETF, or Bitcoin, the rally's been fantastic. I think the trend is your friend. You're gapping on a lot of these things. The one stock, now, the Coinbase made a gap up here, and this is the one that I'm kind of watching, because this 210 to 212 level, all last week, that was a short. No questions asked. Some of the best short levels, when you end up breaking them, you can get a big rally, and that 210 to 212 was a good short level for Coinbase. Because you're gapping away from it and going into some fresh highs, I think you want to give it that chance to pull back in. So my first thought is, if we fail or maybe dip back in underneath 65,000, or there's any kind of consolidation low or pullback, I think back into that 10 to 12 level would be a good go zone. That's still up about 2 or 3% from Friday's close. So you could dip back into the 10 to 12 level and still be up on Coinbase. And if we just only rally, well, I'm definitely preferring some dips here than the breakouts, because I find like taking some of those breaks, they better be very clear. I saw what happened on that AMD break. It wasn't the way to go, taking the AMD break. It was much better if you just waited patiently for the dip buying opportunity. I'm going to treat crypto the same way in a continuation rally. So whether it's this or whether it's Mara, I like that pullback into prior resistance. It's Coinbase that'll be on my watch, but do not ignore that 65,000 level. There's been gravity around it. We're pulling a little bit away from it now, but there's been a bit of gravity since early morning. It hasn't been able to break too far away from 65,000 Bitcoin. So I would suspect you could have a little bit of a dip and rip.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stay patient just to see what we do. But yeah, MSTR gapping up. I'm looking at it on the day chart here. All-time highs 1315, and we're pushing that 200 as well. And yeah, definitely watching IBIT today. We were watching it yesterday, and something I definitely kind of want to bring up again is when we were watching that 35 last week, there was a lot of volume that was kind of churning in and around that 35 mark last week, and now we're trading above that. That was very, very interesting right here. If you guys remember, on Wednesday, you had that little bit of a shake and bake midday, and that strong kuadunk off of this 37. It was an attempt to push into 37, then you drop all the way down to 34s. But right before that, the volume that was going on in here was very interesting. I think we were watching that just blocks after blocks just getting dealt with around 35s, and now we're trading above it. I think that's definitely interesting, with Bitcoin pushing fresh highs as well. Let's see whether or not we continue and how strong this move will be this week.
And I'm assuming you like IBIT because it does the most volume.
Yeah, it does some great volume. I think what was it last week? I think it might have been intraday dollar volume or something like that, or something that it's done. It was over $1 billion. So,
Yeah,
so it's doing some volume.
Because I know some, look, if you just want something which tracks price like simply, ARC-B, essentially, like it trades 65 bucks when Bitcoin's at 65,000, so that one can be like wrap your head around it a little bit easier. But IBIT is the way to go if you want to look at something which is going to do a lot of volume as a trading vehicle if you're not going to be trading directly. But we have a certain guest who I know is going to have some ideas to start off this week, and it's also the start of the month. Let's get back to the desk because we got the NOS boss.
Us with a CMT over at Trade Ideas to start a brand new week with a lot to get to on the macro side, if you will, Mr. Nos, with the intro randomly kicking off again. We're so excited about Michael Nos coming on that we thought we would just play the intro overall. No, what I was mentioning was, can we just kill that, guys? Yeah. All right, all good. What I was mentioning was with Fed Chair Powell set to speak a couple of days this week, Wednesday and Thursday, you know, you start to get in that mindset of what is the overall market doing, what is the overall landscape doing, where can we maybe park some funds that's a little bit safe at this point. Mr. Nosh, you want to talk about gold today?
Absolutely. And you guys know I've been a gold bug for a little bit of time, and Brendan just hit the nail on the head there with a volatile week when it comes to the Fed and news and all this craziness going on. I like to look kind of away from the markets as more of a swing trader and a longer term trader, because I know there's just going to be some volatility there that I would personally just wait for it to subside. So when looking at commodities and going through my charts on the weekend, gold is really, really standing out here. So I thought I would start with, this is a monthly chart going all the way back until 2012, I believe. So this is my long-term thesis for loyal followers of the show. You'll know that this has been something that I've been watching for a long time and making some trades on shorter time frames based off this big cup and handle picture. The fact that we are up near these all-time highs after putting in this massive cup and handle style pattern makes me think that we are at some point due to another leg in gold to move higher. So I've been waiting for more opportune moments on the shorter term time frame to help trade around and express that thesis. And again, like Brendan was saying, if there is there's all this economic events coming out that I want to avoid, I think gold might be a good place to look. So next, I want to zoom into the weekly chart. And this is the reason for it, and we'll zoom in and get a closer look in a second. But this is the reason why I'm bringing this back to your guys' attention right now. We've traded gold a few times throughout the last year, and most of the time I've been pretty good with it. Now, this time, I want to highlight just that top blue line. That is essentially just, we can call it 193 or so on the GLD, the ETF. But the main focus behind that is every time we've hit this over the last 2-3 years, we've rejected hard. And we haven't even been able to close above this line. But if we go into the next chart and you look at the weekly chart zoomed in here, you can see we are actually finally, for the first time, we've closed above that line. So I need to see some more confirmation above that, but it's showing that this 193 area that has been hard resistance for gold for a very long period of time is finally getting broken and then closed above, which as a Dow purist and a technician, right, that's what we need to see. We need to see that closing action showing that auction at the end of the week that was done above this line, showing that people, for now anyway, are not as scared of this area as they were before. So next chart just goes into the daily chart. I just wanted to show that we had this kind of falling wedge breakout, and you can see on the bottom there, I am highlighting the higher than normal volume. It was about almost double normal volume, which is something you don't see a lot in commodities. It's very common to see a cryptocurrency pump out a lot of volumes, or an individual stock when there's news pump out a lot of volume like that. Very much rarer to see it on actual commodities themselves. So gold pumping a little bit of volume on this breakout, that's what I like to see. Now, you can either take part in the ETF or some levered ETF or something like that when it comes to these securities, but I have some names for you, and on the after hours show, I'm going to be doing some work during the day, and I'll bring some more to you. So the first one here is GROY. So this is a Gold Royalty Company out of Canada. We always have the flag in the very top left-hand corner of our charts to show you what country you're trading the security from. Canada, obviously, big on gold and natural resources and all of that. I just really like the pattern here. It's broken out of this long base. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner where the monthly chart is there, you can see it's really depressed. But it's broken out of this long base. It's above that gray thin line that I have is the 200-day moving average, and it's putting in this nice bull flag. So if we can get some movement out of there, I like this one too because it's a cheapie, so I don't need to put a whole bunch of money towards it and get that trade out of it. And then next one, we're going to travel all the way to Peru. I'm telling you, ever since we added those flags into trade ideas, my geography has gotten way better. So this one I'm looking at, I think most people can see because it's had this massive move. Must have discovered a new mine or something like that. And then if we look down to the monthly chart, you can see it's basing right under this long-term resistance. So it's been basing now since pretty much the beginning of the year. So this trade is pretty obvious to me. That high is around 16 bucks or so a share. So I need to see it break that $16 a share and get some sort of volume or close above that area that I'm interested. And if it breaks below and pushes under, then it's time to get out. So those are two plays if we do see this continuation in gold. I just want to make that clear that if I'm wrong here and gold reverses, you don't want to look at these plays because they are going to be tied somewhat to that underlying commodity.
And one of those ideas in which if the underlying commodity isn't really volatile, possibly not going to be too active as far as the equities are concerned.
Yeah, exactly. If gold just sits here, the equities will just sit here as well. It's going to be a move on those. But it's kind of like how I brought you guys when I started to get bullish on crypto. I brought to you guys Coinbase and Mara and things like this that I think that if you're right on the underlying commodities thesis, that you get a little bit more move on. And I think the same is with gold. If you find these cheaper gold miners out there, I just think if I'm right on the underlying thesis, then you're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck, which just means you can invest a little bit less capital in them.
Great stuff. Make sure you're back after 4 o'clock with Michael Noss. Neil in for Sean this afternoon as well. We'll see you then.
Talk to you then.
And this time, Michael doesn't have to worry about the fact that when I fill in for Sean and we speak to Michael, there's always a storm coming out east. It was like 3 times in a row. So almost no chance of that now because the weather's absolutely gorgeous. At least it is here. But think about bang for your buck. You're dead on about that, Michael. And I think that's why we talk about trading. Hey, what's up? I'm Arun, by the way. I wish. So here's the thing, man. If I was built like Arun or Sharif, my moms would have let me play football. Like I probably could have been, instead of being like that dude who was like a guard in basketball who had no handle. Like I could have actually been like a good post player. I had post moves that I couldn't use in basketball. I could have been a better pitcher because I'd be tall and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm not a futures trader, but I am a rapper. I'm just kidding. So bang for your buck. The reason you guys see us trade Mara, and the reason why you see us trade Coinbase, and the reason why Michael's talking about this with the gold miners, is because as a trader, it's so important choosing the right thing to express the idea in trade you're looking for. Right? So there's a million ways that you can capitalize on an AI headline. A million ways that you can capitalize on Bitcoin rallying. But let's be real. Bitcoin is percentage-wise, Mara is going to give you outsized moves in both directions. Bitcoin pulls back, Mara could drop 10% when Bitcoin pulls 5. Mara is up only 4% today. I know they had that offering last week, but it does give you that outsized move opportunity. So we love volatility. Like this stock has traveled just last week, it was a $10 range on what was the beginning of the week, a $30 stock, and got all the way down to 25. That volatility is fantastic. You get 10% moves like they're absolutely nothing, like you're handing them out at the candy store. So this is important when you're looking at trading. And I know I mentioned Coinbase out there in the 210 to 212 level, but if you're watching Mara, look no further than the $27 level. It was clear resistance to end the week. And if it can hold above that, I think it's got a pretty good chance. So we're going to be all about some crypto. My eyes are going to be on Coinbase, I think a little bit more because I like when things are breaking out as opposed to Mara can give you a bit of a bounce play, and I think it's inside of a range, so there might be some trades there. But I love when things are breaking away, because if it holds above the breakout price, you got clear sailing ahead. And if it fails the breakout price, it's easy to sort of switch directions on the stock because you know exactly where you want to make that decision. And I like it. I like it when that's the case. I like Intel for that reason this week. Like I know exactly where I'm going to like that one upside and downside. But apparently we got to get to some upgrades and downgrades there, Obi.
Fubo getting an upgrade from Seaport Research, trading a little bit higher after its earnings last week. DoorDash, this one is really interesting, getting an upgrade from RBC Capital Markets alongside Lyft. You can read more of the notes from this in the watch list, but basically RBC Capital Markets believing that both companies are undervalued and could potentially benefit from a possible loyalty agreement. So really interesting look there for Dash. Dutch Bros is getting an upgrade from Piper Sandler. And Costco getting upgraded here by Telsey Advisory Group. For the downgrades, BCE getting a downgrade from Argus. Barclays downgrading both Ambev and Gill here today. Gill trading a lot lower as a result. And last but not least, Blackstone getting an upgrade, or downgrade here, sorry, from BofA Securities, guys.
Yeah, I like that Costco move there. I think I do have eyes on it for quite a while there. If you guys. Coin. I'm typing in coin. We all know where our heads are at today, but yeah, no, Costco definitely. If you guys pull it up on like a daily or even a weekly, you can see that it's been kind of trending up off of this move here. I think what was this, around 500 to 600 break? Yeah, right here. This is what I was looking at earlier on, like a few months ago, and it's only been running up since then. And yeah, with some more upgrades, it would seem. So Costco can't stop, won't stop, continues to catch a little bit of a bid, back-to-back upgrades, it would seem. And yeah, no, it just kind of sideways. I don't know if I'm going to be necessarily trading this name with all of the Bitcoin names and the AI names going on in the market, but definitely want to keep a watch on as it just continues to bid up.
Yeah, what's interesting there is Fubo was on the upgrades and downgrade list today. Not a name you usually see there. After getting kind of smoked on Friday, let's be real. Who hit the fail on Fubo? Was that you, Fabian? Sharif hit the fail on Fubo? Look, man, that's just unnecessary. Like, why do you got to beat them when they're down? If a stock is at the low and breaking the low, it's just okay. It's not breaking the lows, but it's at some fresh lows. I think you got to cut them a little bit of slack. I'm not a Fubo guy. I'm a DAZN person for my sports. That said, I like key levels. You've already seen it hold 175, now trying to put in a higher low after getting smoked on Friday. So if you hold the higher low there, suddenly you can be breaking out from that $2 level. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an eye on this name today. Only 3% to the upside, and it's got a small-ish, let me just double check the short flow for you guys. I was about to say small-ish short flow, but it's like 17%. That's a pretty good short float on Fubo. So if it can hold that 185 level, it does look good. By the way, Spirit is opened up. Why am I looking at it on the Milan exchange? That's not useful at all. But yeah, opened up. It's now down 17%. There's a termination of the JetBlue deal. So that's the reason for this down. Looks like it's holding. It just bounced off the $5 level. Let's see if that ends up being a little bit significant. So if you're just following along this morning, Spirit, unfortunately, termination of their JetBlue deal. So the stock down 17%. It will open short sale restricted. Ideally, I like support turning into resistance, but that's a lot closer to $6. I don't know if we see that again before the open.
This portion of the show brought to you by our friends over at BluSky Trading Company. Earn a live futures brokerage account in as little as 2 days with $0 funded setup fee, free coaching, and advanced risk controls when in funded. Traded from a wide variety of futures, including Nasdaq, S&P, currencies, energy, treasuries, commodities, crypto, and more. Go check them out. Let's get a look at the overall market here to kick things off. Speaking of futures, Sharif's going to have a look at the market.
51.46, guys. That's where we closed off on Friday, or the overnight high. Right now, the low is 51.33. Let's say support at 5100 or thereabouts. That takes us to the consolidation area that we had there late last week to the high side because we weren't able to break that 50-point level. Let's go ahead and say resistance at 5150.
All right, let's get into everything else you need to know. If you haven't done so, make sure you grab that. Super easy. Go to tradertv.live. Enter your email address into the pop-up, and then you get that, everything you need to know, for free every single morning. I was just watching this save. Just popped up on a volume scanner again, but I guess it was bouncing off 520 there. But downside on that, as Neil was mentioning, more details coming out on the breakup with JetBlue. We're going to talk about SMCI and semiconductors. SMCI specifically because, if you haven't heard, it's going into the S&P 500 as of just after the close on Friday. DECK and SMCI going in. There's a couple going out, including ZION. Help me out.
Whirlpool.
Whirlpool was the other one, yeah. Coming out. That's coming up next week, so we'll focus on that as it gets a little bit closer. But I mean, what can we say? This rally just continues, and it's all about semiconductors.
Like we saw how Dell did last week, Brendo, on their news with respect to AI. This is a competitor to Dell. So what they do is they take all of AMD's and Nvidia's GPUs, they put them in a server of sorts, they combine them together and they service them. They do a lot of tech support as well as installation and on-site services. So this is a competitor to Dell. So if you like Dell's earnings last week, you may want to look at SMCI. But guys, over $50 billion market cap. It usually takes about $35 billion to get into the S&P 500. This stock is up 20-fold in the past 2 years and over 200% this year. Let's keep an eye on SMCI.
Yeah, SMCI continues. So Dave Portnoy just tweeted, I just bought a ton of Spirit Airlines stock. And then in brackets, I am not a financial advisor. Shout out to Davey Day Trader.
Baby. Good for you, Mr. Portnoy. Good luck for that one, to be sure. Like it'd be nice. Like you never want things to go under, but if it can hold the $5 level, I don't see why it can't be an SSR bounce play. It's going to open up down 10%. I'm just looking up at Spirit Airlines right now. But I'm going to get to SMCI in a second. Someone took a monster fill on AMD here, literally at the high of the day. Yeah. So it was right about, I think it was 205.30 on AMD. Someone was bidding 100,000 shares into, this is what the level 2 looks like on AMD. So there's not a lot of size. If you go back like 10 pennies, you might find 1,000 shares on either side. 100,000 was bid at 30s. They started getting hit when they didn't get the full order. They moved it to 60 and got filled everything up at the top. So somebody bought an absolute chunk up there on AMD that's worth watching as that makes a fresh high. We saw what happened at 200 before. Well, if this sucker dips back in, you had afternoon support at the 200 level. That's where I'd be looking. SMCI, I mean, what can you say about it? Except for adding to the S&P 500, it's been a rocket ship, and everyone seems to think it's ridiculously overvalued. Yet, if you look at its metrics, it's really not that crazy compared to some other names within the space. I'm looking at you, ARM. But I think you got this double top that gets tested today. Its high is at 1080 level. I feel like it's a look for a failed break initially on SMCI. Like I'd like to see it get up there. I think taking a breakout in this trade is really tricky because you're not necessarily wrong for $10 to $20. So that's not an easy way to get around trading that as a day trader. So I'd almost look for it to fail the 1080 level, look for a dip if it gets up to that price. Like fail the break, look for a dip that puts in a higher low, bounce off to 60 somewhere, and then try to get involved. I think that's a much easier way to play it. So AMD 200 would be in play on a dip buy if that's the case. I got Intel on the brain, but it's so far away from the price that I wanted to be buying it, which was just underneath the 44 level in front of the 43.50. I don't think we get that today. And then, unfortunately, I think the semis are strong. This is just a stock that's near its resistance. It's closer. It's about 50-50. It's almost as close to this top here, the 45 quarter, the 45 half, which has been good resistance. And I'm talking about get there, run away from it. like you're scared of spiders like I am. Like it gets to 45 and all of a sudden spiders hanging on the web and you got to get out the can or the shoe or whatever you use to kill it, and it just runs away from that price, runs away from that price, runs away from that price. So if it breaks 45 today, I'll be looking for the same thing on Intel. Wait for it to get there. If it gets there, catch that turn off the top and look to short it. I'd love to be long in front of 43.5. I don't know if I'm going to get that chance today on Intel. So lots of semis on watch. We already mentioned a little bit of Nvidia at the open. I'll only look for a fail break dip buy in SMCI or I'm not trading it. AMD I said 200 on a dip. And then Intel, I want to short it on any fail at the 45 level.
Yeah, speaking of runaway spiders, Neil, did you see the S&P on Friday? How basically all day pretty much catches like a very grindy kind of bid. I think just kind of keeping that in mind, I definitely want to keep that in mind. Like if that was a little unusual, I haven't necessarily seen that in my time here on the floor, and I was like, okay, that's a pretty distinctly different kind of way to end the week there. A little bit of grindy buying, both on the futures and the NQ. And yeah, let's see what we have in store with that kind of action that ended off on the week there. We talked about how Nvidia kind of closed up near its highs as well, and yeah, we can take that and use it to kind of go right into the rundown there. But yeah, that size at what is it, 205.60s there, Neil. I caught Buddy kind of getting through right there. Look at all that, 205.60s. This is what Neil was talking about. Buddy got filled all at the same price. On the same gate as well, so pretty interesting there. Now we're kind of starting to pull back off of that about a point. It did kind of chase from the 30s to 60s. That was very interesting as well. But yeah, definitely on watch for a lot of people today is going to be Nvidia with. Here in NVDA, with the semis kind of pushing their highs there. Nvidia also pushing its all-time highs. I think that 850 might be interesting if and when it can come in. But if Nvidia is a little volatile for your taste, which it is sometimes for me, I'm gonna go with SMH. I think SMH is one to keep an eye on, and also if you're looking for like an umbrella ticker to kind of look for that AI squeeze, maybe we can find it on SMH. That's what I'll be looking for here on the day today when it comes to SMCI and semis, and of course SMCI pushing that 1K mark overnight in the after hours last week, and then holding that level pretty much to the T this morning and pushing up into that 1050. So that'll definitely be interesting. Let's see if we can continue to catch a little bit of a bid here on the semis today, Neil.
All right, we mentioned it briefly. If you joined us at 8:30 this morning, let's go to crypto land. Here is the daily chart on Bitcoin right now, 65,000 being tested currently. We did get above it briefly before a little bit of a pullback here, but great looking chart. Obviously broke out going back a week and a half ago down at 52,000. Hey, here we are, $12,000 higher just in a week.
I'm talking about Ethereum and Bitcoin had their best week in almost a year. You had Bitcoin up almost 21% on the week, as well as 16% for ETH. These guys are, well, Bitcoin is it was about 6% off its highs with that 68,982 that we made back in November of 2021. A lot of stuff running up. You have Coinbase, Mara, MSTR. They're all up on the nice move up, Brendo.
Yeah, Bitfarm, I was just noting, popping up here again, 11% to the upside. As you said, right across the board. Riot's up 12%. Impressive, to say the least, guys. Where's the trade today?
You got to key off of that 65 level. There's no question about it. We just keep going back and forth, and the gravity keeps taking us right on to it. Like, it just actually had a bit of a failure at that price, and we dipped down like $300-400, and then we're right back pretty much on the line there. I like Coin and Mara, and I think I want to stick to those. Like Coin on that last dip, you can see it's still kind of holding up pretty decently at the 218 level. I was referencing before that you have this breakout past recent highs. Now you have a wick to 216. I always like to move away from the daily and just kind of see what's really going on at these prices. It was 210 and 212 that was your resistance level. I think as long as you can hold out above that 210 and 212, I'd be looking for some long plays in there. I think that's a little more interesting for me, just watching that Coinbase. It was when it's a really good resistance level for shorting, When it breaks out above it, I tend to want to play in that other direction, right? Because you have a lot of people, if it was a good short for a day trader, that means it was a decent short for swing trading, and there's some people that are holding that. And if it dips back into that price and starts bouncing away from it, then there's some shorts that might want to just get out of the way and let it rip. But you got to watch out for Bitcoin. Make sure you get that spot price in there, whether you're looking at BTC or IBIT or ARCB. It's just a matter of tracking it to be sure you're not getting some kind of a crash. We've already mentioned going into the halving next month. Typically, it's like run into the halving and then kind of sell the news, a bit of a sell the news event, and then whatever happens after that can happen. But I got the eyes on Coinbase here today in front of last week's high.
Yeah, when it comes to crypto, we kind of mentioned this earlier. I'm watching IBIT today. It is pushing some fresh highs off of last week's crazy movement. Something I do want to kind of keep reminding myself. Something I do want to watch out for is exactly what Neil said. Kind of keeping an eye on that Bitcoin and seeing if it has a volatility. Like these ETFs definitely have the room and the space to kind of act just well, maybe not just as volatile, but have their own volatility kind of in step with that move as well. But yeah, Bitcoin's still holding that 65 thou, I think is definitely interesting to go forward today. And another one, Neil, is GBTC. Been doing some decent volume again on the pink sheets there. We're having days above 10 to 15 million volume now. I think this is going to be a good look as well for those who have access to the pink sheets here. Again, looking kind of similar to that IBIT as well. So you got a couple of options if you really want to play that Bitcoin sympathy move today.
All right, let's go on to Apple here. Yeah, big EU fine coming through this morning for Apple. If you missed it, 1.95 billion with a B. Antitrust fine, can touch on that. I mean, the stock already bounced off of that initial news this morning, but kind of interesting there. It's tough to see, but if I zoom in a little bit, two new, not one, but two new MacBook Airs announced this morning with the M3 chip as well.
Yeah, Brendo, with respect to the allegations and the money they're going to have to pay out here, this was a complaint made by Spotify back in 2019. It alleges that, it prohibits Apple from allowing other apps to tell users about cheaper versions of streaming services. So if you were to log in somewhere on your Apple device, any app that you installed would be prohibited from telling you, oh, look, Spotify is a little bit cheaper than Apple Music. So that's the allegation here. The European Commission is coming after Apple for about 1.8 billion euros. That's about $1.95 million. We'll have to see how they do. The biggest, though, Brendo, antitrust fine, according to this website, in EU history.
Yeah, we let go of 180. We were talking about 180 for the past month or so on Apple. We let go of that on Friday. It did come back up and test it late in the day and then kind of faded off into the close. But trying to bounce, as I mentioned already here, for Apple, guys.
Well, I know one person that's happy that Apple's down here, and that would be, yeah, he's hitting the bang. It's Sharif, because Sharif is looking to pick, he's been talking about picking some up in front of 175, so I guess it has to get there. All that said, maybe that happens this week. I don't know about today. Hopefully, if we get some shorts, then I hope it happens today. But at the end of the day, the trend has been pretty clear on Apple. It's been slowly sliding down. Just zoom it out a little bit. So since it failed 185, downtrend into 180, bounce lower high, tried to bounce again off the second time it bounced off 180 last week. It got just to the 181, and then you saw what happened on Friday. It gave up that $180 level. So with that said, it would break the trend. If it breaks 180 today, I think it breaks the trend. That's great, but the trend is still short, so any shorts into that 180 level, I have 179.5 marked off-ish, because that's where it closed. So, kind of mark off that close price, was a little bit of support. I want to be shorting pops into that level. If Apple breaks 180, I shouldn't be looking short at that point. I should be thinking about, okay, it has to fail back under to be a short, and if it breaks out from that, you can start looking for longs. But until then, the trend is your friend until the end, when what happens, Obi?
When it bends.
There you go.
Or so I've heard. That's how it goes. Yeah. I'm looking at the day chart here on Apple, kind of a double top off of that 200. Kind of looking back, and I was like, yeah, we couldn't really get through that 200 when we did come up there. I am remembering now, and we've been kind of selling off. We made lower high, and we've cracked through some of this horizontal support that we've had pretty much all year in and around that 180, and then now today we're gapping a little bit further below. You can see the pre-market level here at that 177.27. So we've pretty much kind of cracked this level, but it does seem like there is support, the bid did catch last time down here at 166s, so maybe we can get all the way down there. I have no idea, but definitely going to be watching that 180 as it has been a little bit of a level of support throughout the year here. As you can see, let me pull up the 1 hour right here. So this is the end of 24. You can see right here. So January, 2 times in January, and then off of earnings here as well, kind of distinct double bottom right there at that 179, and we have kind of started to trade below that. So it'll be interesting to see what we do after that shelf is kind of cracked. Again, the markets are pushing all-time highs there. What is Apple doing? I have no idea.
All right, Tesla holding on to 200 here this morning, or it's actually back below it ever so slightly, 199.33 currently, but this grind back to 200, which was that low, continues. Nothing really significant as far as a news catalyst today, but I mean, coming off a week where we did kind of go back and forth across 200 all week long, and then ends up closing on the high side of 200 last week. We'll see if we can't hold on to it again today.
Brendo, how many gigafactories are we going to get here? Like, I mean, now we're
a gigafactory.
Yeah, now we're talking about a plant in Thailand. We talked about a plant in England, possibly. In India, possibly the south of Spain. One's under construction in Mexico. So interesting. Yeah, that's the headline today with respect to Tesla, possibly opening up or looking to explore opening up a gigafactory up there in Thailand. And you know, the Thai government's obviously offering some incentives, 100% green energy credits for operation and manufacturing there. We'll have to see how they do, Brendo.
Shout out to Michael Law, starting to look like, dare I say, maybe a happy face or a smile, whatever he calls it, on the daily chart down here.
I don't know if that's what, I don't know that I would say it's a happy face yet. Because all I see is like a downward trending channel on Tesla. Okay, loosely I had the bottom channels like nice and clean, but I just drew the top one. It doesn't really matter. You guys can see the downward trend that it's been on, so gigafactory or not. It's also got this, you could drive a sandworm through this, and that's what it looks like last week. It's about as obvious as it gets. That's a reference to Dune.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second season has come out, I've heard. Yeah, I watched the first one. The first one was great.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
So movies don't have seasons.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Movie. Yeah. I get a little. It's been a while. It's a book,
We're just playing. I love to do this to Obi. I give him a hard time, as if I don't say a bunch of dumb boomer things like every 5 minutes. But no, I actually haven't even seen the second Dune yet. I've read the book. The books are fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching the second one. It's just a matter of you couldn't even get a seat to the IMAX. I was telling with Fabian, like you couldn't even get IMAX seats to see Dune 2. Was so popular. But as I said, this tunnel looks like what? Big sandworm going through. Maybe we get a chance to short 205. When it goes to 205, I'm generally looking for it to break 204.5 and then start getting into the short. Like literally, you get into that $0.50, that's when you start looking for the short trade. It got right to that price. I didn't take it because it didn't get there. And then the 198's been the support. I think there's a chance it breaks 98 today, but let's be real. Resistance till it's not, support till it's not. If Tesla wants to sit in this channel, then who are we to argue with it? If it can hold a bid at 198 again, I think you can look for the bounce play. If it eventually gives this up, which it did do, as Oba was pointing out this morning, it did give this up really, really early in the pre-market. But until it does that after the open, it's support till it ain't at that 198 on Tesla. Down 1.5%. They don't seem to care about the Gigafactory. They seem to care about the fact that this and Apple are into the penalty box in the Mag 7. Check that. You can throw Google into that. Of the 7 names, you got 3 of them in that Mag 7 that have been in the penalty box, and this one threatening the break of that bottom at the 198 level. That's the key one to watch. It's pretty simple when you pull up that 15-minute chart.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't have too much other than to say exactly that. A little bit of barcoding action between that 205 and that 198. I'm curious to know whether we hold or whether we break below, but a little bit of a range formation. So we're definitely going to be taking it either for a range trade or a range break, depending on what it does. But I'll stay patient and kind of see what we do on Tesla today. We got Willis Addison with a super chat there. Thank you. Dune 2 today in 40x or RPX today with Apple puts. Nice.
So I'm down with the look. I'm looking for shorts at Apple as well. Unfortunately, I won't be watching any Dune today. But shout out to you, Mr. Addison. I've heard really good things about it. I think it's going to be a fun watch. I'm a big science fiction nerd. Speaking of, I'm just gonna. We have like 10 minutes left, but there's a new sci-fi on Apple TV, which is really, really good, called Constellation. I'm actually enjoying that right now. Let's go back to the desk because we got a question about Macy's, and it is a target for somebody. Whether it's a target for traders today remains to be seen.
Right?
Let's go on to retail land. We had a few earnings in this space last week. There's some more movement this morning in the way of Macy's here. Arc House and Brigade Capital apparently interested at $24 a share for Macy's. So this chart not really showing, but we're actually way up here right now. So right at the top end of the range for Macy's on the daily chart.
Yeah, they're trying to sweeten the deal here a little bit, Brendo, pumping up that per share offer from 21 to 24. That represents about a 33% premium from where Macy's closed off last. So we'll have to wait and see here. And you recall that Macy's announced last week that it's going through a huge cost-cutting phase. It's going to close multiple stores, all the inefficient stores, to the tune of about 150 different big box stores. In exchange, it's going to try to open up its more profitable Bloomingdale sector where the margins are. So we'll have to wait and see how they do and how this buyout goes.
I was reading this morning there was more news in this country along those lines this morning that came out. Bodyworks, you know,
oh yeah, Beth and Bodyworks.
Yeah, closing a whole bunch of stores in Canada as well. So
apparently
it's been here since 1980.
I've seen it,
which I had no idea. That's so long. Anyway, 15% guys for Macy's today.
Apparently, Sharif has been around since the 1980s, saying he's seen that Bed Bath. But yeah, nice. I think Macy's.
He's old, man. I'm just saying. Sharif's old.
That was pretty funny. We know what you meant, Sharif. We know what you meant. Coming into the week after earnings there on Macy's, we've kind of gapped up and held that earnings high off of overnight there, and that's definitely going to be interesting. I think that last week we faded off of that level there, and with Nordstrom's earnings as well this week, retail is definitely on watch. Again, let's see what Macy's does with the kind of a gap above this earnings reaction high. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, like that's what I like about it. Macy's today is, like you said, it's gapping above that level. The offer at $24, like, okay, well, if you didn't accept the offer before and thought it was undervalued, you're getting a little bump from there. I think it was like 21, now they're offering 24. It sold off on the previous offer when it wasn't accepted, and they'll do their diligence, but keep your ear to the ground for that. I think if it can hold and break out this 21 level, it's only 6% short float, so it's not a gigantic squeeze potential, but it's enough, especially with the deal giving it some kind of a potential floor, as long as the offer is there, because these things don't last forever. Ask Yahoo what happens when you reject an offer thinking you're undervalued, and then years later the shareholders hate you. But we'll see what happens with Macy's. I don't know how well they're going to do without some kind of a deal. They are trying a bit of a turnaround, but that 21 level looks like it's a key. The other deal news, because while we're here, we might as well talk a little bit about Spirit. Save, if you're just tuning in here, A, welcome. B, JetBlue and Save, Spirit, their deal is now kaput, so down 15%. There is a $5 level which bounced almost exactly off. It was like 503 this thing bounced after the news. It's going to be short sell restricted because it's down 15%. So unless a miracle happens the next 6 minutes, it's going to open over down 15% or over the 10% marker. And I'll be looking for an SSR short sell restricted bounce. Whether that's off the $5 level or maybe some kind of a higher low, ideally it would be off the $5 level here on Save. That's going to be, because of the volume that just came into it, I think I would elevate that over Macy's in terms of having a catalyst that can really get us going today. Nothing wrong with Macy's, but you're getting some really good volume here in Spirit Airlines going late here. So we're going to talk a little bit about, we got Tesla that we're looking for. I mean, it might be along off that 198 level. If it does break, remember that's that key resistance point. It should be a big one. We'll get the imbalances in a quick second. But Obi,
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're filling in for Sean today. It's like now 9:25. What do we do with Amazon today? I feel like when Obi fills in, I'm like, I'm not going to say a word about Amazon because I feel like Obi has something to say about the stock, but yet you've said absolutely nothing.
I mean, there's so many other names on watch. Like I know Amazon is pushing some highs, 52-week highs, and it's nearing its all-time high as well. But with AI kind of on the move and with all of these other kind of names in play, I think my focus is a little bit. I just think it's a little bit better kind of focused on those names. But yeah, we can talk about Amazon.
I'm not forcing you to talk about it, but actually I love what you just said there. If other names present themselves better, that's where you want to focus.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Definitely, I think I was looking at Amazon over the weekend there. A bit of a step up onto this 76 here. We can see that since earnings, we've been kind of topping out in and around that 75, 76 area on Amazon. And then you can see how end of the week there, we had that pop and then we held that 76 quite well. So let's see what we do coming into this. We already tested that 179 with the 4 a.m. candle there, but that's if you want to consider that as significant at all. But price did kind of make its way into that 179. We're pulling back off of that level right now. Let's see where we go. That's 176. Kind of you can see the wiki action that we had on Friday off of this level. It was bought up quite aggressively, it would seem. I think that this area might be something to watch out for if it can get back into that level there. But yeah, with the beginning of the week kind of coming in, and we've had strong weeks back to back. I'm just curious to know whether or not we're going to dip off the open or we're going to rip off the open. I have no idea, but I'm going to stay patient and just kind of wait for some of these. If the setup sets up, then I'll be willing to take a shot. Again, I got to do much better at working at my patience there, Neil. So I think it's going to be good practice just to kind of, stay a little cool for the first 5-6 minutes. If something shows up in the first 5, that's perfectly fine. But I'd rather, let others pay for information. Let's say that.
That's what I like to say. Let others pay for information. You're going to get the information here on the market. But J.A. Ramirez, when did Sean get glasses? Always filling in for Sean. We already mentioned this. Sean is installing another 74 smoke detectors at his house to make sure the family stays safe. Hopefully Barron gets one. All 74 are going into rooms that his son is not in. That's funnier if you've listened to the podcast. I'm just going to throw that one out there. So I'm going to keep referencing that joke so that everyone will listen to it. Look, the imbalances, the balances are out this morning. The biggest two big names are actually Fisker on a buy, which probably makes some sense. And then Rivian has a 1.7 million sell imbalance. Fisker, potential deal with, was it Nissan? You saw it spike on Friday afternoon. Both Sean and I were trading it to the long side. It could be a bit of a squeeze breakout play. Obviously, going concern issues for Fisker after earnings was the comment, and then this is where the Nissan thing happened. 58 looks really good if it can break out. It would be a nice little double top there if it can break out the 58 level. And then you saw that sell imbalance for Rivian, which got smoked on earnings and is actually heading to the downside. So when that imbalance came out on Rivian, this actually tanked a good 50 cents there. Let's go back to the desk quickly.
Just quickly, Ford guys popped up on February delivery numbers, or sales numbers, I should say. The only thing that matters really, EV sales up 80.1%. Hybrid sales up better part of 32%. So a little bit of a pop there, 0.6 now for Ford as well. What's coming up this week on the midday?
Short selling, Brendo. All week, Adara and I are going to be talking about short selling on how to trade. Today specifically, we're going to be talking about shorting a pullback in a downtrend. So join Adara and I today at 11 o'clock.
Shorting, so we're looking at some Apple. If you were short Rivian just now, congratulations to you, down 5% with that sell imbalance. I didn't see anything specific about this other than the big sell imbalance coming out there that I showed you, 1.8 million to the sell side on Rivian, and it is breaking towards some lows. So it took out the $11 level. I think it was 10.55 or so. No, check that. Yeah, 10.55 was the higher low since the earnings, but $10 the actual earnings bottom. So this one looks like it's headed to the downside. Fisker, again, Fisker looking for a 58 level as a breakout. You can see it there on that Nissan news with just about 20 seconds to go. I like a short to pop on it, Apple, like a short to pop on Tesla. We're looking for a failed breakout dip buy if we get some SMCI, and then we'll watch that AMD 205. We talked a little bit about that Nvidia as well, if that can get back into some key support levels at the 820 level. But Adara, it's Monday. Let's get this party started in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. That's a healthy, conservative ring right there. Spirit, no, just joking. Spirit Airlines, that was the other name we were mentioning, looking for that $5 level on an SSR bounce type play. It's already putting in a higher low. The volume kind of muted. Apple, oh, come on, Apple. You're supposed to go up so we can short you, not tank and fill. You might get filled already there, Sharif, because 175.50 just got tagged on Apple. Double checking Tesla. Close to that 198 level, so that's the key support. If Tesla holds 198, that's been the big support level pretty much the last couple of weeks. Looks like it's going for the dip and rip already.
Yeah, it's. I'm watching Tesla as well, that 198. It's coming in, but it's still kind of holding right now. Like I said, I'm going to stay patient. NQ's making fresh lows, so I do want to stay a little bit more patient on that. Let's see what else is running here. Google kind of pulling down into the lows. Well, yeah, 197's coming in. Let's see how far we can get down here. If you do look left a little bit on Tesla, there are some resistance levels in that 197-ish area as well, and then we kind of reclaim that 198. So let's see how far we can kind of get here. We got Apple pushing into 196 as well. Let's see how far that goes. Wow, Google to the downside, quite heavy. Wow, look at that selling coming into Google. That is aggressive. A little distinctly different, as Sharif likes to say there, into the 133. Yeah, let's see what other AI names are going. Dell coming to the downside as well. That one was a little crazy last week. There goes IBIT towards the highs, with Bitcoin kind of pushing towards fresh highs as well. But yeah, there's a flush on Tesla there, 197.5. So it is coming in quite strong. Let's see how far it can get, whether it's going to catch a bid or not. We did break last week's support. Let's see what we do with that 198. If we can get back up there, we're going to continue to sell off there. Apple bounce looks interesting. NQs are still holding near their lows. ES a little bit distinctly different, with a little bit of a bounce right off of the open. I'm staying patient. What do you guys have on watch? I know everybody's watching AI.
I can't. I'm going to have trouble with Fufu today, because even if I say FU, it's actually not even better. So this is a small runner here. It's up 100%, gapped up 100% is Fufu, holding this $12 level. The volume's only decent, so it's worth watching, but it held this $12 level. If it breaks out 14, it could go crazy. No, it's Fufu. Is that how I'm supposed to pronounce it? No, Fufu sounds way better than Fufu. I'm not saying that. Walmart is up, but it's not near that $60 level. Spirit Airlines, you can pretty much stick a fork in it. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can stick a fork in the dip buy off the $5 level. It's now ripping off 550. I like the SSR bounce, but we're not going to get it there. AMD just failed at 205. Again.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness, AMD failed 205 break. This is exactly what happened last time. I'm going to get involved here. I thought this could have held that key price at the open, but if it doesn't hold a key price on a breakout, then I look for the reversal play. Intel's not setting up for a short just yet, but AMD underneath that 205. It was a 205.40-ish that was the pre-market top. And remember, someone bought a boatload of shares here up at those highs, like that actual top wick. So I'm going to take a shot at this in front of the previous pre-market high on AMD. Intel never set up for me. Keeping an eye on Coinbase, that little dip buy, that could be coming into play as well on Coin, as that was down in the teens. Ooh, that was fast. got short in front of that 05 at 88, and it's right at that 204 level. Pre-market lows down in here about the 202.50. That's where the buyers came in at 7 o'clock. That's where I'd look to get the rest of this out. As quickly, AMD with a false breakout. I love that setup. False breakout's always a pretty good setup for a short trade. The other name that we liked for a false breakout was nowhere near one, and that's SMCI 1080.
Yeah, I'm just kind of watching. I was staring at the Tesla there, so I do want to get a little bit involved if that's going to give it to me right here. I was watching the flush. I was like, this is pretty aggressive selling. Let's see how far we can get. 196, a little bit of a bid there. So let's try to test that out. Again, not going to get it on the first try most likely, but we're going to continue to kind of watch it there, see if it works well. 196 as of right now, but the NQ is still kind of flushing. 18.3 coming in, quite hot there. What else am I watching? I'm watching, I guess, that Google pushing quite aggressively to the downside there. So that's definitely interesting to me. Google, we saw that it's been selling off over the past couple of weeks there, and it seems like it just continues to sell off a little bit more here, very aggressively to the downside. Distinctly different from some of its other peers there on in the Nasdaq constituents. As Softy's holding that 414 level, I do have it here in my notes there, kind of looking for that 412, 415 level if it can come in there. This 196 seems to be holding as of right now, pushing into that 197. Let's see how well of a bid we can catch. We did crack that last week's support there, so let's see if that support will turn into resistance today. That 196 struggling as of right now.
Before we go to Adair, very quickly, AMD bounced off the 204 level. I reshorted the 05, so I took it a second time, and then it broke out that 205 40 level that we're short off of. So we go 1 for 1 and then take a smaller hit on the second piece. It suddenly looks pretty strong. We'll go back over to Adair at the desk. What do you have for us?
Big Bear AI, BBAI, one of the many tech-related names running today. This one, before market open on Friday, announced that it completed an acquisition for this vision AI company called Pangiam. They also have earnings Thursday after close and a short float of about 6.2%. So keep an eye on BBAI, guys.
Thank you.
Big bear to the upside. You know what? Let's forget about this Apple. I got to cancel my Apple order. That is still tanking. We're not going to get the short to pop. Look, Sharif just yelled. He's like, yes. Well, you're not filled yet unless you're at 175.42, which would be a good price. But this is actually starting to reverse. Nvidia is headed for 850. Remember I said AMD, we jumped out of the short the second time through because we're rallying? Well, have a quick look at Nvidia. There was no dip into the teens. It's set for an 850 test. I don't think I like the break at 850. I'll look for a false break and a dip into Nvidia. I said I wanted to look for dip buys where we get the chance. Fufu is halted to the upside, so it did break 14 bucks and halted. The tap is $15.25. Fisker is tanking. We mentioned Rivian. Actually, Rivian caught a bit of a bid here. This could be a little something on Rivian. I thought it was a little bit too far down to short the bottoms, but if we can get a shot at this one back in through Friday's lows, this starts to make a little bit of sense. Spirit Airlines was already gone for the dip buy, unfortunately for me.
Yeah, so I am kind of getting a little aggressive here with this Tesla, a little bit maybe more than I'd like. It has stopped me out a couple times already, so I'll be a little bit more patient there. But AI and AMD both kind of ripping to the upside. So is Nvidia now. So we finally caught a bid on some of these names here. ARM as well, pushing into that 148. Wow, Sharif, that smells amazing. There comes some bid on 195. There's almost about 1,000 lots that kind of got filled at that 195 on Tesla, just straight through like butter to the downside. Holy, talk about a support break when it's defined it for you for 4 days straight, 198.5, 198.5 over and over again, and then finally we get that crack and you get almost a 3 to 4 point flush off of that level. Absolutely wild there.
Tesla.
And yeah, I'm definitely fighting the trend there. So I tried it twice. It was not nice. And I'm going to stay a little bit more patient there and maybe look at some of these AI names. Again, we talked about being letting others pay for information. Let's see what we do. AI is looking quite strong there. So is IBIT pushing towards those highs. What is Bitcoin up to? So the high on Bitcoin, 66,000 as of right now. So let's see where that goes.
Just a quick thing. I'm going to get to Rivian in a second, but that initial short just immediately paid, shorting it at 11:03. As a matter of fact, just got down into the 90s, took some out. But when I see Bitcoin holding that 65 and breaking out, there's Coinbase. I'll slap the fail on myself. What did I say? 212. It bounced off 212, but you can only make the next trade. As I was over there, Tesla, waiting for an Apple pop that never happened to fade. You get the dip right into 212 on Coinbase. Now you're consolidating higher. If this can break 220, it's already doubled up at 220 here. If it can break 220 and Bitcoin is still charging to that 66,000, I think it can be a breakout trade for Coin. Mara doing something very, I want to say very similar, maybe a little bit stronger, holding that 28 level. It dipped into 27. But the new position for me was Rivian shorting. You saw what's happening in Tesla. Rivian was too far gone in that sell and bounce for me to short it at those lows, but it gives you the $11 level. The bottom is 1075. I'm going to get out in front of 1075 and then try and regroup. I want to stay pretty, like I'm not in a name that was part of the original big thesis because I missed the reverse on Tesla, but I was able to get into some Rivian. I'll take the profit in front of those lows and then try to grab something else as Nvidia is at that 850 now. So I'm going to get on this bid, see if I can't get out of Rivian, take the money and run, and get on over to what I think might be a failed break 850 on Nvidia, and I'd look for the dip buy off the 850 break.
Yeah, I think that that Nvidia 850 definitely interesting there, and we are raging right up into it. And that I was talking about that Van Eck as well. SMH kind of a little bit less of a volatile play when it comes to trying to catch the squeeze on some of these AI names. You can see that AMD also blasting off into that 210 there on that push there. And yeah, a lot of these AI names kind of getting a little bit of a bid there. I'm curious to know what SMCI is up to as well. SMCI is also catching a bit of a bid right into that 1070, absolutely wild there. So yeah, a lot of strength across the board on these AI names. And take a look at the NQ there, Neil. Strong wick to the from the bottom there on the 15-minute candle.
Never mind the fail break on Nvidia.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that was clean. I'm sitting here like after AMD, what did I say? It's like you got to just sort of take these every single time. It goes clean to twos, 2.5 if you took the 850 long. I'm still looking for like the failed break and then look for a dip to try to hold the previous level, the previous top at 844. No breakout on Coinbase either, but I think if we're going to get any chance to short some pops in Apple, we're running out of time here. Like it's like you can't even get to VWAP. It's almost at the 175 level here. This is the name that I wanted short. I mean, the most. There's no question about it. Like you have your names that you want to get into, but I just never got the pop in here. I did get out of Rivian, and Rivian continued to go lower, so that was a plan to get 11 into the low of the day, but it wasn't at the top of the list, so I took my profit and ran. I know ASML is making moves, VXS, but you got to try to stay in the pocket for the names that you like. Like this is like we get out of the way of AMD for a tight stop, and it's at 211 already. So I don't want to be fighting things. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you take the money and run. If you don't have a stop on AMD, this just be another one of those mornings. But this is getting a little bit top heavy already. I think you're about to get a bit of a dip buy opportunity. And as you said, SMCI, this was the other name. 1080 was the breakout on the daily. I was looking for a fail break dip on SMCI as that continues to run. Watch out for that Tesla, man. These EVs are still a little bit hairy.
Absolutely wild.
Coinbase is holding the 19 to 220 level. I do think that can still break out with what's happening in crypto. I do see us holding that 66,000 level. There was Coin. It just broke that 220. So let's see if it can sustain this breakout. I'll give it back into these 19s.
Yeah, absolutely crazy there. Again, like I said, I'm going to stay a little bit more patient. They are showing some strength there. The drive was quite nice if you did catch that piece there. But I think that if the bid is going to be any sort of strong and kind of continue on the day, we'll definitely have more opportunities to get involved on there. And yeah, so another thing is like I was talking about this last time as well. Kind of not the same kind of mental capital here doing the show as I have back at the desk there. So not going to be as aggressive with some of my ideas as I'd like to be, and that's perfectly fine. I got to adapt to the hand you're given, right? I think that's a good way to kind of put it there. I am kind of trying this one last attempt on the Tesla there. Let's see if that kind of comes in. That 15-minute candle, quite aggressive. If you look at that 15-minute candle to the downside, it is very, very, I guess, very extended to the downside, quite heavy in red. And there you go, get stopped out once again. So you know what? I will look away from this name now and kind of let it happen and look at a different place, because clearly some of these other names, let's see if they start to cool off and how much did they pull back. Some of these AI names, and when I say that is what I mean. And how much do they pull back? Do they sustain their pullbacks, looking for that continuation? IBIT, holy, continuing to kind of push towards those highs. No real sign of a pullback. I was looking for a pullback potentially into VWAP here. This red line's a little bit of a VWAP. Let's see, no real pullback as of right now on IBIT. But yeah, let us know what you guys are trading. But before that, we're going to send it over to the big desk with Adara.
New 52-week highs for REAL. This one's Real Inc. They reported earnings Thursday after close, beat across the board. Looks like they're still trading positively in response to that, but it's also worth noting we have about a 12.3% short float for REAL, guys.
There's already been one halt on Funware at about $10. It opened up and is gone again. It's Super Tuesday this week, so maybe there's something going on with that, although all of that stuff is a foregone conclusion at this point. We'll see what happens. SMCI, there's the dip off that 1080 level. So why 1080? 1080, there is the top. It's kind of like a 52-week high, but it was more of an intraday high, not a closing basis. So it does fail that breakout. Now it's coming in. Was looking for any bounce off of the previous highs in the pre-market, this 1050 area. So it is into that range now. Coin did not hold a 220 break. I might have to go over to that one again, but now you're getting the dip buy on SMCI. Same thing's happening, or similar thing is happening in AMD, although AMD feels a little bit more controlled. SMCI is heavier. AMD is trying to hold up here like 9s and 10s, so you might get a chance to get back in on VWAP there, but these are looking a little bit heavy to the downside. Apple's at 175. Wow. All right, I don't even see, where's the bid here? It's not even that big, couple 100,000 shares on the 175 bid. I only want to be short this name in front of the 180 level, but I'm looking for a pop that I can get into to the short. I still think I would rather be long the chips. The Nasdaq is weak here. It's being dragged down by some of the bigger names, the Apples and the Googles of the world, but these chips are looking a little bit strong. So there is a bit of a bounce there in SMCI. I'll probably not take a 175 break and look for a pop that I can short into 176 on Apple instead. I would like to also get back into Rivian, try and rinse and repeat before. Whoops, I don't want to short there in Apple. Get out for 2 cents. I want 176, Neil. Number lock wasn't on. Sheesh. That could have been interesting. Always punch out right away if you accidentally punch in. 2 cents is not much the price to pay. But if you hold it, that would be 30 cents against me. So always get out right away. Don't look. Don't worry about why you made the mistake. I knew instantly what it was. But wait for the pop. I want 176 here on Apple. SMCI, there's the bounce already. AMD, what are we doing here? It's still, AMD's still pulling back. I'm not really seeing the buyer step into it just yet, but I think that can happen pretty soon.
Yeah, I think speaking on that, last week I had a bit of kind of experience with that. Where I was just like, I had an order in. I think it might have been an Edge A order, and I was trying to punch out of Dell, and it couldn't get out because it was saying I had like wash orders or something, and it denied my fill, and I was like, oh, I really need to get out of this right now, and I kind of fumbled it, hit the flat. Ended up getting out at the bottom of the wick. That was pretty nasty there, but I got to stay aware of orders that I already have if 100%. if I'm playing aggressively, right? I think that kind of it reminded me of that occurrence that happened last week, and it would seem that a little bit of a bounce here finally ended up catching on the Tesla off of 193. Oh boy, off of the 198 all the way down to 193. Oh boy. And yeah, that's quite an aggressive flush right off the open. Like I said, that 15-minute candle looking very, very aggressive in terms of selling there right off the open. Let's see whether or not we can get a little bit of a reversion here. SMCI 1085 seems like it's the high there. Nvidia pushing 853, 80 the high. And I guess I was watching an earnings name as well today, C Limited SE, not really doing too much as of right now, kind of fading off of the open there. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to stay a little patient. Clearly not being too patient there on the Tesla, as I am being a little aggressive for that reversion down. There did try it 1, 2, 3 times. Yeah, violating that 3-strike rule. But I also kind of was watching the tape there, kind of trying to manage my risk as best as possible and keeping enough what do you call I guess bullets in the chamber to
You want to make
have
sure
the
you
shots.
have some.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, I don't mind taking a trade a second time. Like I'm back into this break on coin, which is setting up like it wants 225 today. So I was willing to take it a second time. I am in coin. I just took it again. But yeah, that probably will get there. There it is. It's like a little bit of a delay. I'm looking over and make sure you guys can see it. It's the second time I took that breakout. Pre-market high sits just above the 211 level. It gets them out there. But I think 225 could be in play. I see into cable saying Walmart. Walmart, I want 60. I want 60 to break on Walmart, and then I like the long. Fill me. Okay, that's better. It's such a weird thing with Coinbase. We were talking about this last week, and I might get into this when things slow down. Like Coinbase has a 20 to 30 cent spread. Like I'm sitting on the offer in front of like 50s, and then it gets up there, and then the spread just sort of hangs. If you close the spread, you just get insta-filled when the stock is trending up like that. So the first time we took a hit, the second time we'll ring Reggie on Coinbase. But if you were watching this early, when we said look for the 210 to 212 bounce, that's exactly where it bounces off of. Now I got to think about 18 for dip buys, maybe higher lows at 19 on the way to 225. BTC is still holding, but it's at that 66,000. Uh-oh, Nvidia just gave up 850. That could be bad for the chips here. Look at Intel. Man, why didn't you go to 45? If this had gone to $45, I'd be short that 100%. But it didn't, so I can't. I have to play it wherever it is, and the lower high here is at about 44.10. So I'll have to short this into 44.10. But when I see Nvidia pull back, I mean, if Nvidia can't hold 850, these guys going to hold when they're already trending down? My guess is no.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a pullback, but SMCI kind of picking right back up there. I'm watching it as well. 1085. You know what? I'm going to pull it up here to kind of keep a closer eye on the tape here. I am watching IBIT. IBIT kind of just to slowly kind of trekking up there. So it did pull into VWAP there. I did kind of miss that entry. Was watching Tesla, but IBIT holding quite well as Bitcoin attempts to push towards that 67 there, Neil. 69 all-time highs. Are we going to get there? Oh boy, we're only about 2K away, and we've seen the kind of wipes that BTC can do. And I think that if and when we get there, I think everybody has eyes on it. It'll be interesting to see what kind of volatility that'll bring into some of these names, and of course Bitcoin and Ethereum themselves. But yeah, let us know in the chat what you guys are trading. Do you guys have any sort of ideas on the Bitcoin play today or not? IBIT doing some great volume today, done already about almost 11 million off the open, and it's only been about 21 minutes. IBIT very, very strong on the day there. And then Apple looking kind of weak there. We are teetering on top of that 175 for Apple. A bit of a pullback off of 850 on Nvidia as well. And Alphabet holding that 133. Very, very interesting. We saw how aggressively it was sold off the open here. You know what? I'll do better kind of talking with the charts. But before I do that, we're going to send it off to Dara at the big desk.
Wildcat making some day 2 earnings moves here. CRDF, Cardiff Oncology, about a 41 million share float for this one. They did beat earnings and announced some positive trial data Thursday after market close. So second day of movement to the upside here for CRDF, guys.
So almost VWAP finally for AMD here. It's down at like 207.5. It's finally getting back into that support level that we were sort of mentioning there. But if it can't hold this, I do still like shorts. It's almost, someone mentioned to me, and you weren't wrong. Intel doesn't follow those other stocks much anymore. All of that said, Intel is a relatively weak name in the chip space. So if the other names are coming down and Intel's trending down, I still like that short. Like it gets a weaker stock, so I don't mind shorting it in that regard. AMD is trying to bounce off this VWAP here. I guess it's not even close to that 207, but it's making a bit of a bid here at 207.5. So I'm going to grab, if it holds green, if I see the buying start to come in a little bit strong, I'm going to hold that 208 level. You are trending down, and the market is trying to give up the bottoms. But if the buyers can hold this 208 level, it would be a nice little entry point for AMD. Got to be patient with it. It's not even sure it's going to hold at this moment. I am on the offer of Intel, and Intel doesn't want to fill. Oh, nope, Coin doesn't hold that 219 on the way back in. So we got the breakout the second time on Coin, 220 to 221.5. It just wicked back underneath and could not hold on to the 220 level, so I jumped out of it a second time. Still want this short in Intel, though. Got to be a little bit patient with it. And if NVIDIA doesn't hold 850, I don't think it matters for what AMD is going to do. If it bounces here and doesn't hold the 850 level, we could see a lower high and then a flush. We've seen this before on NVIDIA after a big breakout day where it tries to go early and then starts trending down later in the opening session. I think that's very similar. This was like an 810 break at 820. This you had like an 840 break into 850. If this doesn't hold 850, I think NVIDIA could be in a little bit of trouble. So worth watching here. But AMD's still in that range of a dip buy anyways.
Yeah, so I was getting back to Google there. We were talking about how strong it was to the downside. Take a look at this. This is a 15-minute candle right off the open. Very, very aggressive. 136 to 133. Very, very aggressive. I'm gonna figure out what the ATR is right now, real quick on Google, and we can take a quick look at how many ATRs did it actually do right off the open there. So ATR, I got 3.1 according to Finviz there. So 3.1. Oh boy, did we do about an ATR right off the open? Maybe not right off the open, but off of that imbal at 925, definitely flushing about one ATR into the opening session there. Let's see. We are holding that 133 as of right now. Spider kind of catching a bid on top of that 112, 111 half, it would seem. What's the low here? Sorry, 511.67 is what I mean on the SPY, and we're kind of bidding right back up as well. ES, again, you can see it on the ES, right? We're kind of trailing right back up into some of this consolidation that we had in the pre-market session there as well. Softy, super strong, so looking distinctly different from that Google there. Again, we talked about the relevance of Softy and how it's kind of the market leader now. Again, in both the NQ and the ES, and a decent chunk of the Dow Jones as well now, right? So Softy definitely can be considered a very strong market leader, and it is blasting to the upside there. That 415 coming in real hot as of right now. We saw the bid kind of come in last week, and you can see, oh wow, definitely a missed trade for me. That 412 was bought up aggressively in the morning on Friday.
416 broken yet?
416 is pretty much coming in. That 412 comes right back in, holds that 412 on the first candle, and then we're ripping right back up in towards those highs on Softy. So Softy raging to the upside, holding on to some significant levels from Friday, it would seem. Just some intraday levels as of right now, but with the fact that we've respected and held that 412 and ripped up about 4 points off of that. It might be a little distinct. I have no idea, but it seems like we are catching a little bit of a bid. 416 just broke there, Neil. Are you looking to get involved?
Yeah, I mean, this was last week's level. Friday, we're looking at this breakout trade, but this is one where I like dips more than I like breakouts. So I took it when it broke because I said I would on Friday, and I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. I'm going to get to AMD. It's pulling right back in. Might have a reload there. But if this ends up pulling back, there's the 415 level. You close at 415.5. I think you can still work longs off of that price. But I got to go over to AMD quickly. We got the dip into 8s. Look at the wick. It just pulled at 9s. So we got 8 to 9, and then it's right back in. That looks a little bit heavy. I got Nvidia, which I'm looking over at Nvidia, which is showing me weakness underneath the 850 level. So I'm going to quickly jump out of AMD. This is what has been better for me in the last like 2 or 3 months. Just take the profit, look for a better re-entry. If Nvidia was looking stronger and holding closer to that 185 level, holding that 850 level, then I think I would give this a little bit more room on AMD. But if we're failing under 850, I'm just going to take the profit and look for the next entry point. It can always hold this level, and I can jump right back into the trade. Apple broke 175, and it's you're long now, Sharif, in your personal account. But look at this volume wick here. So decent volume wick on the 175 break. It's going to have to hold on to this if it's not flush city. I can cancel a 176 short. I'm not sure I'm going to get that anytime soon. That ship might have sailed, at least temporarily, on Apple. But a little bit of relative strength in AMD holding VWAP versus this Nvidia underneath that 850, although it's holding VWAP as well. I'm into Microsoft, but I'm not giving it a ton of room. And you can pretty much stick a fork in shorting the pops on Rivian, Neil. Where am I? Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't, like, I can want back into Rivian at like 1080. Rivian doesn't want me to get back in the short until probably, maybe I'll try 1070 or something like that. But Rivian, an absolute dog. I didn't see any specific news when it came to Rivian, but this is getting crushed.
Yeah, I'm looking at this SMCI as well. Somebody in the chat mentioned that I think, what is it, 9394 saying that 1100 coming right in. So I did pull it up. We were just in the 1090s, and we're getting a little bit of a flush into the 1070s there. So yeah, that 1100 coming in potentially on the SMCI, it would seem. And yeah, let's see, a little bit of a pullback as of right now. ARM taking quite a flush there, I'm seeing as well. Wow, okay, so some of these AI names kind of pulling back in, maybe with that 11th flush that we just had there. ARM pulling in quite aggressively, right back down into 142s. So maybe that might be a decent look there. But with if SMCI and Nvidia, I'm watching VanEck as well at SMH. We talked about that. SMH kind of taking a bit of a pullback there, 225.35 being the highs there. And yeah, so I gotta watch this Tesla as well. Tesla coming back into that 193. Let's see. I was looking for the bid to catch. Hasn't really caught on as of right now. It would seem maybe we are taking another leg down with this aggressive selling that we have been having on Tesla. And not only just Tesla, we got Google as well, but Google catching maybe potentially a little bit of a bid now as that 133 seems to have held. Softy, super strong. Apple distinctly different, still making fresh lows. 175. Oh boy, I know Sharif is definitely happy about that one.
He certainly is. Well, I hope he's happy about it because you want to be long good stocks, and if you like Apple, you are definitely long. Let's go back to the desk. We've got Adara. It is 10 o'clock. What's happening now? Is it?
Slightly positive on the day here for the SPY after that amazing session on Friday for all the indices pretty much across the board, specifically the SPY and the Nasdaq. So a slight positivity here. Lots to talk about though. Bitcoin now up above 66,000 level for the first time since November 2021. So massive moves for Bitcoin and also a lot of other individual movers to discuss. Despite a lack of economic data today, we do have Fed's Harker at 11 a.m. and that's pretty much it. So lots of time to look at all these movers. We have SMCI now up almost 20% after alongside Decker's Outdoor being set here to join the S&P 500. So good look for Supermicro. We also have Lyft falling down a little bit here, but still up over 4% after getting an upgrade from RBC Capital. So nice look here as well for LYFT. Last but not least here, Save along with JetBlue going to be on watch here after their $3.8 billion merger agreement has officially been scrapped. So keep an eye on Spirit Airlines SAVE, guys.
Yeah, that's actually bouncing off a higher low now, Spirit, the 550 level. It might be, I like $5 there, but obviously the 550 level looking pretty good there. Shout out to you, Mr. Mercado. Thank you for the super chat there. RRNLX, why squeezing? Can you please check? Well, I can. I'm only in. I mean, Microsoft is challenging that 17 again. We'll see if it can go. But RRNLX actually just failed a breakout. I know it's gap up here, but it actually just failed to break pretty heavily. I'd watch out for that. That's not a. I hate that setup at the open when you're looking for early longs, which is kind of a double top-ish and then a failed break. You need it to settle down. But it's a pretty big level that it just rejected. There you go. It just rejected last week's wick high. That's not a great setup. It needs to find some kind of a bottom. Maybe 140 is it, but that's a big maybe. Softy, first time break, didn't go, got out, jumped back in. If you're watching on the well, fresh highs, if it gets to 421. I think that's an obvious level to watch out for. I think your 420 stands out in front as well. I will be looking to take profit out in front of that 420 level. So Softy is running. We'll see if we can't do the same thing as we did on AMD on that initial bounce. But AMD on the break is starting to pull back in. So some weakness coming into the chip names here. AMD under VWAP and pulling back into its breakout price. Nvidia, all these ugly wicks. Let's go to the 3-minute here. Nvidia broke out and starting to come back, cannot get back above 850. That's key. If Nvidia doesn't hold this 850, eventually this is going to turn into a bit of a short. And I still can't get short Intel. Can you just pop like 15 cents? If I ask really nicely, maybe it'll happen. Adara?
Yeah, just some more context on that RRNLX. This one is Renalytics. They were trading higher earlier in the pre-market because they announced that they received an unsolicited offer from a large public company. They did not say which company it is, but they have received the offer. Also worth noting, there isn't really a significant short float here. About almost 60 million share float, 2.74% of that is going to be short. So just some context there on that RNLX move, guys.
There you go. That's what we get the news for. Again, we can look at the charts and talk the technicals all we want. I'm not going to pretend I know every single story out there. That's why it's such a great team in here. TSM, Roth, I agree with you. That's kind of a cheap stock in the space if you like it. And Roman saying Uber short. I was short Uber Friday afternoon, and not one that was on my list, and I feel like I might have made a mistake if that's tanking. You like Dell, Obi?
Yes, I do.
The real question is, are you trading it today? A, B, Chill Vibes is asking about it because this is breaking out tops right now as we speak.
Yeah, no, I did have kind of eyes on it there. I did have a plan for it. I think I kind of missed a price there. I had 122. It seems we already kind of visited that 122 and holding on. Yeah, pushing to the highs strong there. Very strong. Like I said, again, I know I'm going to miss out on a couple trades here on the day. Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful there. 122 to 126, it would seem, kind of grabbing some of last week's levels there. So you know what? I will pull it up on my chart here. Thank you. Who was it? Chill Vibes. Yeah, thank you, Chill Vibes there. Let me pull it up real quick, if I can. There we go. Yeah, so 126, 127 coming in. Very aggressive rebid right back through those highs off that 122. Oh wow, look at that consolidation, 122.
That looks so good.
Oh, I gotta follow my plan a little bit.
Like
there,
that chart is like, it's like the apple fritter of charts in some ways. You get a good consolidation level. Oh, did I just get trailed out the buck on Microsoft? I might have. Go back over here. Microsoft hit it a second time. Yeah. It looked like it was holding that level. Market's too weak for this. There's a problem with taking these breakouts is like you get the hit, you get the win, and then immediately like they just kind of pull back the next level this morning. You see why I've been in and out of all these longs? Like it's just, you get it, you get your buck, and the next thing you know, you're getting stopped. This one was a good trail out. It was in the money. But Nasdaq's still looking red. Like you're getting red candles. Why? I mean, Apple's weak. Tesla's weak. Although, is Tesla bouncing again?
I'm looking for that.
Oh, I'm off. Okay, whatever. Let me just not look at that one because I should have reversed the 198. That's nowhere close to VWAP. I did get into Intel, so after getting the profit on Softy, I might look for a bounce there, but I'm short Intel into this lower high. I grabbed it at 96. It's hard to tell with these wicks, but pre-market bottom was 44.15, lower highs 44.10. So that'd be the zone where I would look to add if it fails at that price. So I'm short on Intel, still might give Microsoft a chance. AMD's trying to get above 205. You know what's wild? Like, I just looked over at, thank you, Tex in the chat. AMD's holding the 05 level up 2%. ARM, the floodgates opening up to the downside. Nary a green candle in sight on ARM. That's a little nasty. I'm sitting here on Intel, and this thing wants to try to break down at 140. I have a decent feeling you could easily get a kind of a wick bottom bounce play, but then Friday's close level becomes an obvious area, like the 142. Any bounce here into the 142 would look like a short the pop situation to me. So I do like that on ARM. Great look there, Tex. I'm a fan of that. Softy still holding 416. Might jump back into this one. Taking the profit and running in the longs when the market's looking weak, to me, seems the way to go.
Yeah, what's your opinion on I guess like money moving around off of these off of some names? Like for example, we're seeing that if you see like ARM sell off, but like Dell kind of push towards the highs. Do you ever suspect like okay, maybe short term money might be moving
100%.
In and out of some of these names?
Actually, one of the strategies I employ for my own personal account is Like typically speaking, if I'm like, I don't like selling stocks. You want to be in the market. You don't time the market. It's time in the market. If I sell something in the chip space, I'm either buying the Qs or buying an ETF or putting it into something. Like I don't want it sitting on the sidelines. Right. So if you think you're like ARM is overvalued per se and Dell's a better value, then why wouldn't you sell ARM and then buy that? Like it is what it is. Like I remember. Like, whatever. I sold the only two things I've sold this year that are remotely related to the chip space is I sold some Intel and I sold half of my ARM, which looks like it's ridiculous now because ARM continues to go higher. And I put those in the Qs, not into Nvidia or anything. Wish I put it into Nvidia, but I bought the Qs. So Dell's continuing this breakout, and I don't wonder if this isn't the one today. But TSM's strong as well. I just think it's a little bit. I don't know. I came in with a plan to be trading AMD, Nvidia, and Intel. And AMD's still sort of looking like the long could work here. It did end up bouncing off the 05. Like, look at this. I had the short trade. It essentially gave you the buck, and then the tight stop, and then the long gave you a buck, and then the tight stop. So it's been like a scalp a dollar type of morning here. If we can hold VWAP, that looks a little bit better, but it's a bit stair-step down. So you got to be patient. You said be patient. I'm trying to be patient. I like ARM fades now, but that's only because it was pointed out to me. It's like, hey, Neil, look at ARM. Look how weak it is. But if it can't pop to 142, I don't know what to do with it. So I don't have to do anything unless it gets back into 142.
Yeah, I think the fact that Dell has such crazy strength is definitely something. We were talking about how Friday's open was on earnings day one, absolutely wild there. And I kind of again we talked about this. I was just like, oh, in that first minute or two off the open, it was quite aggressive there, almost reminding me of the aggressiveness that ARM had, maybe even a little bit more aggressive as well. But yeah, we were talking about how I was just like watching that tape right off the open. I was like, this is a crazy drive through the high 120s right into 130s, and then flush right back through the 125. Absolutely wild there. But we're continuing a bit of that move there today. 122s to 128. Very, very strong on the day is Dell. What was the high from earnings day one last week? 131. So we're almost there, only about a few points away, but let's see whether or not Dell can even get there. What is the ATR on this name, you ask? I am asking the same question, so let's find out real quick here.
34.50.
Dell. Yeah, maybe it's 34.50
it's not
there.
34.50.
Let's see. Okay, so I have the 14-day ATR at 5.34. Now again, that's not really too reflective based off of what happened on earnings day one. But again, you get a little bit of an idea of what the normal ATR is, and we've done a little decent chunk of that so far today, from the 122 into the 127 as well. It would seem that Tesla may be potentially catching a little bit of a bounce here. Let's see. Maybe it's not ready yet. I have no idea, but I am kind of. I was a little aggressive. We talk about trying to be patient. I'm not being as patient as I'd like to be here on Tesla, but let's see whether or not this will come into fruition. There we are, kind of bouncing off of that one. It went all the way down into 191.80s is the low right now on Tesla there, but it seems like I'm missing out on some of these crazy moves on I guess just Dell. None of the other names I'm seeing are doing anything too crazy there. SMCI, I guess, yeah, that's the only one that really kind of pushed up into that 1100, but that one's taking a bit of a pullback here. So in terms of names related to AI right now, the only one I really see is Dell from last week that is catching a little bit of a continuation. ARM looking very, very weak there.
It's heavy.
Very heavy, yeah. I think a lot of people are like, even I'm looking for that push through 150, and I think a lot of people are looking for that push through 150. But when it shows you that it can't even get through 148 halves off the open, I don't necessarily want to get involved. Again, a little bit of I think. Keeping myself safe, being a little patient there, and waiting for the move to kind of come in there. But I do have a bit of a bias through that 150, and if it's not going to give it to me right now, I will stay a little bit more patient there. Wow, there goes 129 on Dell. Amazon's going?
Yeah, Amazon's at 180. Shout out to, who said it in the chat there? Chill Vibes mentioned the 180 level on Amazon. I got out on Intel, and then I looked back at the chart. Why was I shorting off 44.15 when 44.25 was a more key level? So I did come back to that and got back in. I'll give it another 10 cents there, but I don't want to fight that 3 times. But 180 on Amazon here. Obi, double top. There's about 500,000 shares on the offer here. Oh, shoot, it's going to break. Don't break yet. There's about 500,000 shares on this offer at 180 on Dell as it continues to go higher. Microsoft is holding the 416, so I'm going to jump back into that one off the 416 level. Just looking a little bit strong still on Microsoft, but suddenly my attention is over to Amazon for this 180 level. Scott H, I see Funware is going, and it's probably related to the fact that, a bunch of wins for Donald Trump, and Super Tuesday should make it official. I mean, it's already official. What difference does it make? But Super Tuesday being tomorrow. So I guess a Funware running on that. I have not really looked at DWAC and what's going on there. Every time we pull up a breakout, and I'm like, oh, this level's about to break. Look at the break at 180.
Pull back, yeah.
Pulls right back.
I'm watching.
There would be some alpha to just wait around for us in the morning show to talk about a big anticipated break level, and the second you hear it, short the 99. And then once you shorted the 99, scalp the trade. And then while we're staring at the stock, waiting for it to break the top, you can just profit by shorting it, which clearly I'm not doing on Amazon. Let's go to Adara, and maybe Amazon will have broken this.
Something else that might explain that most recent pop here for Funware, PHUN, a couple minutes ago here, coming out that the Supreme Court rules that Donald Trump can be featured on presidential ballots. So just another piece of news that might be explaining this PHUN move, guys.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a little more to it, but at the end of the day, it is absolutely flying. So while we wait around for Amazon to do whatever it wants to do, there was this somewhat strong-looking bounce. It's a red candle now, but in the moment that I got in, and trust me, it wasn't, that was getting back about 416 on Microsoft. So we take small hits to try to get the bigger win, trailed out the dollar, but I'm giving this about 40 cents there. If it can't hold on to this local bottom, we're going to have to jump out of Microsoft, and it looks like it might not hold on to it. Amazon is not breaking.
Oh, that flush,
if you had just shorted the 180 level,
yeah.
Like, why am I sitting there? I did this last week with like Nvidia or something like that, where I just did not want to short off of levels like this. And then it goes up there. I just got out of Microsoft. If it gets all the way to VWAP, I don't hold 416 down into 414.50. I try to get back in. This is me canceling the breakout trade. And the other way to get in would be if it can hold VWAP on a dip buy. Funware is halted again, apparently.
Yeah, that 180 looking.
I'm paying
quite,
for locates on this. I mean, it's not going up forever. I'm going to get some shorts on Funware.
Is that thing? It's halted up, you said?
It's halted up 90% at 13.39.
That's interesting. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not saying I'm shorting it when it opens, but it's starting to get a little heavy.
UAC moving around as well on that? Definitely.
No,
right?
Fun has its own. Well, I mean, it's obviously related, but Fun's the one that's having more fun today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it would seem so nice. That 180 coming right back in there, so I am kind of watching it. It is a double top, like you pointed out there, Neil. So we did flush off of that initial push, but I'm curious to know how far we actually flush and whether or not that sell has any sort of follow through off the rejection off that 180. So I'm kind of patiently waiting and watching to see whether or not that kind of builds any sort of I guess sentiment towards the 180 there. If we kind of fail to follow through on the sell side, I'm going to be watching that 180 to come right back in. Apple potential, maybe something here, but the 15-minute candle just started. We're printing green. We've only had red candles on Apple so far off the open, and yeah, I'm curious to know when and if Apple will kind of bounce. Softy taking a bit of a pullback there. We did reject, or we're taking a pullback off of 417, it would seem. So maybe we do take a little bit of a pullback there. Spider, not really doing too much. Again, we saw what it did on Friday. We talked about it, and going a little sideways here. I'll pull it up for you guys so you guys can take a little better look at the SPY here. So a little sideways action there. Nothing too crazy off the open right here. So boom, right there. So a bit of a sideways action. Again, this was very crazy on Friday. Very, very aggressive buying. Again, not even any sign of a significant pullback throughout the day. Just catches a bid all day. And again, the NQ looking quite similar to that one there. What's going on?
No, ARM is so annoying. I like 142 short on ARM. It got to 141 and tanked $3. Bye-bye. Yeah, that one's absolutely flushing. Coinbase is still going. Coinbase is up 9%, but getting short ARM at some point is going to be a little bit of a priority. The other short I like here, Rivian. See what happened in Rivian? It's one of these mornings as I take a sip of coffee. Look at the chart. Look where Neil offered. It missed by 1 cent. If I cancel this, you can kind of see. Let me cancel that order. Like I was sitting right there on the curl and then just missed it. It curled 75, didn't get the fill there at 73, and that's headed back down. So that's a weak name, but ARM is even more weak. I'll get to fun when it opens up, but Amazon's back at 180.
Yep.
So $180.00 was the actual high there on Amazon. Only up 1%, but the market is obviously relatively weak here. So we do like some Amazon for potential break. But remember what happened with Microsoft. I'm just going to point you quickly over to Microsoft breaking the 216 level. First break, no good. Second break of the high, good. And now it's pulling back into VWAP. So if the same thing happens on Amazon, I want to have the same approach where I'm willing to get out, get back in, and keep it tight to the vest. But it looks like it'll break any second now.
Yeah, it's coming right in there. Let's see how well it does through the. So you said initially it had like 5,000 lots. I see like 2,500 now.
They filled some at the 80 level.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm still kind of long here on the Tesla, just patiently waiting for a potential reversion. Whether it comes or not, I have no idea, but we shall see. Again, trying to be as patient as possible there, and Amazon as well through the 180, as Neil astutely pointed out, could be something interesting as well. Let's see, it is building up quite nicely into it. We've held VWAP. We're pushing through some of this morning action there. We pulled back into the 60s, couldn't really get too far below that, and now pushing back into that 180. So let's see, we've come from 177s into that 180 as of right now. So a decent chunk of the ATR there. I think that is pushing 1 ATR if I remember correctly. I just got to make sure what the current ATR on Amazon is real quick. But before we do that, we're going to pass it over to Dara.
IWM just barely positive right now, up not even 0.1%. So very small amount of positivity here for the Russell 2000, but lots of other names on watch here today, including Real Inc., REAL. This one trading higher initially on Friday after reporting its earnings. Pretty much a good beat here across the board, and also worth noting they have about a 12.3% short float for REAL. Next up, we have Big Bear AI. BBAI is going to be the ticker for this one, up almost 30%. Friday, they announced that they've completed the acquisition of this vision AI company, Pangiam, but also worth noting for this one, 6.2% short float, and they're reporting earnings after market close on Thursday. Last but not least, we have Renalytix, RRNLX, this one announcing earlier today that they've received an unsolicited approach from an as of yet unnamed company, but it is a publicly traded company. So nice look here for RRNLX, 34% to the upside, guys.
Thank you.
Funware opened up and just broke the $15 level. If it fails the 15 top, I'm looking for the short. I did pay for locates in this. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm going to miss it. I was just over at NVIDIA. Oh, I just got in. I don't want to chase it too far, but I was willing to get in off that 15 fail break. So if it breaks a fresh high, I'm jumping out of Funware. It's up 110%. We brought the news to you, of course, tomorrow being Super Tuesday, and then good news for the Trump campaign is the reason for the squeeze. But you get a halt up here. It's like the fourth halt of the day, I think. And then it halted at 13.3. If it holds on to underneath 15, I like the short. If it breaks it out, I'm just going to jump out of it. Amazon still hasn't broken $180. I don't even know if it's going to at this point. Okay, I just wanted to make sure fun resolved itself. If I take that trade, I'm risking the 30 cents to the high, and I'm looking for a pullback into $14 or into the whole price as an absolute bottom. So it's a very tight stop. Always willing to make that top wick because you don't want to get trapped, and then it halts to the upside on you. So very tight risk, trying to get that bigger reward. Now I can go on over to AMD, or NVIDIA. Look at the 850. Broke 850, got to 854. Broke 850, got to 852. If it tries to get up there again and fails it, suddenly NVIDIA is looking like a bit of a false breakout at that price. And the last time I did this, I pointed to this on the chart for you guys. The last time NVIDIA did that, you saw a pullback of, that's about $30. And this was on the 23rd. So it tried to make a fresh breakout. It was trend up, gap up, trend up, failed to break out of the top, and then trended to the downside the rest of the morning. That's what you could have happen here on NVIDIA. And you're right, LM Visser. Funware is now halted to the upside. I say this all the time. Wow. If you're not willing to trade with a stop, you're not willing to make an ugly top. If I get stopped out and stock drops $1, who cares? But if you don't get stopped out and you hold it, next thing you know, you're out $1 and it's halted on you. So you can take shots at things. You just have to have an out before you get into it and respect that. NVIDIA 850, that's on the radar for potential fail break. And then we'll have eyes on that Amazon 180 level if it ever even comes into fruition. So we're trying to be patient. I got out of Microsoft 416 to see if it could bounce off VWAP. Now it's looking to bounce off VWAP. So this is where I try to get back into Softy on a bit of a dip buy here.
Yeah, that's Softy. Softy's quite an interesting one on the day today. Definitely missed out on that 412 hold, and it kind of continues to go. So I did try that Amazon attempt through that 180. I got long going into it, and then doesn't really come in, so I did stop out there. But it seems like it is holding some of these lows there, so I got to be a little bit more patient. It is quite tight on here. I'll pull it up on the 15-minute here for you guys, and you take a look here. You can see very, very aggressive. We are kind of slowing down a little bit of toppy on that 180. Let's see how we do from here. But yeah, very aggressive back to the upside as we're pushing 179.80s right now. So maybe that was just a quick grab of the lows in the 60s, and we're gonna push right through that 180. I have no idea, but I'm gonna be patiently watching it this time around. Again, likely not to work on the first time around. That's okay, but you got to stay around to kind of keep kind of trying there. Again, I got to do better with the precision, but and also kind of having enough shots in the chamber to stay alive and continue to kind of exercise the idea as it works, because you know the chop is absolutely wild, right? The chop is absolutely wild. The volatility is kind of there, which reminds me, what is the VIX up to? Let's see what the VIX is doing. A bit of a gap on the VIX from last week. We saw what it did last week, holding that 13.5. So nothing too crazy there. It hasn't really gone into exciting territory. I like anything above 15 to 19s. I think is interesting stuff. But yeah, let's see what we have in store today. The NQ's holding onto the 18.3, and then ES also kind of just doing the same thing it's been doing all morning, a bit sideways there. Again, taking a look at the SPY, it is kind of sideways, attempting to push towards some fresh highs in the intraday session there. 512.60s incoming. So let's see whether or not we get a push of that 180. Look at the NQs are attempting to bounce, and let's see if the ES pushes up as well. Maybe we're poised a little bit nicer for that 180 push here on the Amazon, which we haven't seen just yet. But something that is super weak right now, Neil, is Apple. Absolutely crazy. To the downside, definitely.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's been selling off while all these other tech names have been kind of pushing highs. So I'm like, all right, well, is it over for Apple? I don't know. I don't think
it's not over for Apple. The irony of Apple, the irony being, I like the short in Apple today, and I have one short that it was a keystroke error, and I just got out for 2 cents right away. The irony being, if I broke the rule and just hung on to the trade, said, whatever, who cares, just stay in that short, even though you didn't mean to short that price, it actually would have worked out. That doesn't mean it's a good thing to do, obviously, but look, it's been heavy and weak for a while. It's flat bottom broke the 180 level. The trend is still to the downside. It broke to the downside. I thought we'd get a push up and we'd be able to short into resistance on Apple today, but I'm in the softy. Got to work with the trade you're in, and watch out. Here comes that test of 850 on NVIDIA. So it put in one lower high, once a couple of dollars down. If it does so again, I think NVIDIA sees at least VWAP. AMD looking a little bit stronger out of the two. We'll see what happens with Amazon. It's getting a little bit boring watching that Amazon 180 level. We'll let you know if it breaks. And Funware, still halted. It halted at $15.96. The tap is $15.97. Really not a lot of activity expected on that reopen of Funware, which should be in just under 30 seconds or so. So eyeballs here on this NVIDIA 850.
Yeah, so I think with the Nvidia kind of pushing towards highs there, again another attempt. I'm watching Van Eck as well, SMH kind of that 225 coming in at the same time as some of these AI tickers hit their highs. So let's take a quick look at that SMH and what it's been doing. What's going on?
Oh, Funware opened up. Is that wick that? It opened up and immediately tested 14, like 15 evens, actually. I think it broke 15 even briefly there. So it opened, tested underneath 15 bucks, and then was instantly back at the high. That's why I was like, whoa, okay, that was a little bit intense. So this is probably, if it holds the whole price after dumping out like that, it could get really strong. But yeah, it's going to be, oh yeah, now it's starting to sell. Now it's starting to sell. If it retakes that low, I think it could be a short back into 13 bucks. But it has to retake that 15 level. And it doesn't want to. The sellers are not in control at that 15 level. Every time it gets down there, it just bounces right off that like a hot knife through butter. So I'm not going to get short unless that thing really fails at that price. See what the opportunity cost is, Neil? You're staring at Funware and you miss Nvidia. Distractions, my friend. Distractions. Nvidia, 846.
Yeah, it seems like that 1100 on SMCI.
Nvidia's at VWAP. What did I
okay,
just say? If it fails 850, you're seeing VWAP on Nvidia.
That came in real hot. I think something helping along is a pullback off of that 1100 on that SMCI. We can see that it did kind of pull back there. Again, talking about the VanEck ETF to get a little bit less of a volatile. I guess participation on the same kind of a move that you're seeing on SMCI and on Nvidia at the same time. They're teetering in and around near their highs, it would seem, and so is VanEck here in and around that 225 there. So definitely interesting to watch. Let's see if VWAP holds. Again, still consolidating. Still, it's only been an hour off the open there, so some of the volume coming in now might be interesting. It's 192 looking to come in here on Tesla as well. But before we do that, we're going to pass it over to Dara at the big desk.
Strength for crypto names across the board. We are going to get into BTC in just a second. But first, I want to take a look at MicroStrategies, MSTR, as Sharif and Brendan mentioned this morning as well. This one has been really strong as of late, now up about 20%, and this whole past week has been really strong too. We did have last week the announcement that they acquired 3,000 additional Bitcoin at just over 51,000 per Bitcoin. So nice look for MSTR amongst all these other crypto stocks. And that, of course, has to do with this massive rise in Bitcoin. Right now, we are above that 66,000 level for the first time since November 2021. So definitely making more than 2-year highs for BTC, continuing to see this movement to the upside after a little bit of a pause at the 64,000 level during last week. Bitcoin not the only name to the upside though. Ethereum up about 4% over that 3,500 area. We have Solana up about 2.5%. Ripple up about 6.5%. Cardano 8+%, and Dogecoin here almost 21%. So lots of move in a lot of these other cryptocurrencies as well. We are brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Sign up today for 50% off their premier news and research platform for retail traders with code TTV, capital letters. Use the link in the description to go to checkout.
Thank you very much for that, Adara. And making a lower high here, so a higher low, is Coinbase, continuing to the upside. We had Coinbase on a breakout trade at the 220 level. You can see a couple of times it was okay, and then after that it stopped. Got all the way into the 18 before bouncing. A higher low is at the 222. That looks like a decent trend to the upside. I'm only in softy, and I keep looking over. If you see me do this, it's Funware. It's been Funware, Funware, Funware. I paid for locates and short of the 15 level. It's now starting to fail underneath the 16. I think it sees VWAP if there is a big dump under the $15 level, and it's about to retest it here. We'll see what happens, man. It looks like it's starting to get a little bit heavy on Funware. Apple's now 174. Has that ship sailed on being able to get shorts? There are no pops in Apple, no pops whatsoever. But here comes Funware in that $15 level. I don't know what you're in, but if the sellers actually bother to do anything with this, every time it gets to 15, it's bouncing here. It just tagged 98s. Oh, there we go. Now it's starting to sell underneath. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Don't chase too far. I'll offer where I offer. Either you get it or you don't. Either you get it or you don't, and I don't get filled. I don't want to chase that to the down. Yeah, see, I don't want to chase it, and there it goes. I'll cancel now. This looks like it might halt to the downside, 14, 15. So I took a shot. I tried. I threw the offer in as it was breaking the 15 level. Didn't get filled. But it's going to halt down at 14, 15. Unless a miracle happens in the next second or so. There you go. Funware halted to the downside. Old man hands missed the punch on that short through 15, as Sharif likes to say. Nvidia bouncing off of VWAP while that happened. Ooh, it's through the 850 level. So it did short the 850. It did go from the 850 down in VWAP, and then broke out. Okay, now I feel a little bit better about the chip long. I was looking for some strength here, and NVIDIA wasn't really giving it to us. Now, if it can hold 850, you're looking for the dip buy. And AMD, what's this doing? It's a VWAP dip or a higher low dip. I will take the higher low dip over the VWAP dip. Like, give me the stronger name. That looks like NVIDIA. I'm getting really close, Obi.
Yes.
To like just not even looking at Amazon right now. It is absolutely frustrating to watch something for a breakout that just doesn't want to. It just does not want to go. So I'm gonna that level 2 is gonna be AMD or Nvidia. Just go back to square one there. Microsoft needs to get back to 416. Then we'll start taking some out, and we're looking for a higher low now on Nvidia to try to get in. Funware halted to the downside. I'll let you guys know where it opens up. Current tap 1353.
Yeah, it seems like we are getting a little bit of a push on the AI names there. Again, SMH and NVIDIA, SMCI attempting to push towards those highs. NVIDIA kind of being the stronger of the bunch there. Yeah, I'm watching ARM as well off of this 139. Let's see, it did sell off quite distinctly off the open there. But yeah, let's see if we can catch a little bit of a bid off of this 139. We are starting to curl, but I'm going to stay a little bit more patient just to see whether or not it does come in there. I get stopped out of that Tesla there, clearly being too aggressive. I'm not going to be really looking at it right now. We'll come back to it if and when it does kind of curl. Definitely, I keep kind of attempting to manifest the patience by speaking it out loud, but clearly nothing too patient about some of these entries here. We'll stay a little bit more patient by just moving away from the name there. But that 192 looking quite heavy there. Again, we broke a support level that was kind of significant from last week. Why am I fighting it this aggressively? I should be getting short underneath that 198 and then kind of following it down. But again, that's a retrospect, of course. I guess I'm kind of forcing that long for that reversion to the upside again. Maybe just a VWAP I'm looking for, but that's not even coming in there as sellers the selling is quite aggressive and continues to make fresh lows on Tesla there. But yeah, kind of diverting my attention here towards ARM and maybe Nvidia as well. We talked about that earnings name I had on watch today, C Limited. That's kind of sold off as well. Dell pulling back, right? So 125. Yeah, VWAP I have all the way down at 120. So yeah, Dell's got a ways to go if it is to come down into VWAP as of right now. But again, all of these names kind of on watch. 139 holding on ARM, and yeah, let's see whether or not that can catch a little bit of a bounce here. We're pushing in again, like I said, an hour into the open there, so maybe some change of hands there potentially as larger time frame participants may start to enter some of these tickers here now.
Well, we're into NVIDIA now. I was like, I didn't realize I was muted there, fighting a sneeze. I was just sort of saying, what about Dell? You might have picked it up on Obi's mic there. But Dell still looks like it has a chance off VWAP, but the difference is with NVIDIA, NVIDIA's putting in a higher low now off the 850. It bounced off 850. I just got long back through 851s. Remember I said it bounced off VWAP, looking for a higher low, then play the long off the higher low. This way, if it goes for a run at the high of the day, I'm long into the high of the day and don't have to take the breakout trade. Haha, in your face, breakout trades. You don't want to work? Then we'll try to do dip buys and scalp into it. That way we're already in position when it wants to go. DraftKings apparently is making fresh highs. Ooh, that's a good one. I just saw NVIDIA making an ascending wedge, says TX Trader. That works for me. Whatever you call it, higher lows, ascending wedge. We don't have a key for a flat top break, but you could call it a potential flat top break too as well, because 854 looks like a bit of a flat top to me. It just got to 853, so we'll ring the old Reggie, which is the register, by the way, and then hold it into this breakout. Microsoft starting to climb back above the 415 level, so that's looking good. Why the heck isn't Funware open yet? Did I miss something? Okay, Funware. Oh, never mind. It'll open any second now. Just looking over Fun looked like it was still halted. So NVIDIA running. We're up about a couple bucks on this. If it takes out the high of the day, I'm holding through the high of the day break, and I think we can see like an 860 or something ridiculous like that. AMD's probably going as well. Of course, AMD's still going. Absolute rocket ship, these chip names. 4% on AMD here. Nvidia's up almost 4% as well. Once you're through 855, I slap a trail on this bad boy and see how far we can go. As once again,
Wow.
it's the chips. The chips lead the way. I mean, Softy can't go more than 30, 40 cents in the money. You get into Nvidia, and instantly it gives you a couple of dollars. That's just how it is with these chip names, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild there. I get out of the Tesla. It starts to bid right back up again. That's definitely interesting. Like I said, I'm gonna keep it out of the way right now. I'll let it bid up a couple of points. Let's see. I'm looking for that pop back up. And if it doesn't come in, it doesn't come in. That's perfectly fine. But you know what? I'm willing to give up a couple of points now if it is going to push back into that 194, 195 area potentially. But we did kind of hold on to. We're holding as of right now onto this 192, but still kind of distinctly downtrend as well. So maybe it's time for me to kind of look at some of those pops and see and look for that lack of follow through to the upside for a potential short. Maybe time to switch over there, but I might be late to the party as a short was through that 198, 199 half around that area right off the open. Again, we saw that weakness come in, and with SMCI kind of pushing right back up to that 1100 and Nvidia kind of pushing through its highs as well, or attempting to. 855 the highs on Nvidia as of right now. So it is pushing some fresh highs on the day as, again, AI takes another leg up here. Dell kind of on the pullback, like you said, Neil. Maybe it is kind of looking for buyers in and around that though? VWAP. I have no idea, but maybe VWAP could be an interesting look there.
I love this in the chat. The chips are out of control. Daryl Brandt, you need to get the dips with the chips. Oh, you missed the H in there, but I know exactly what you meant. And the funny thing about it is, I'm not even a dip person. Like, I like dip buying in stocks because when you play a trend, the dips can be better. Oddly enough, that should be a question in the podcast. Are you a dip person or not? I find that.
Wasn't it? I think it might have been a question a couple of weeks ago with the salsa.
No, it was it was a salsa. It was salsa versus guacamole.
Right.
I don't consider. Those aren't dips to me.
Okay.
What's
a dip?
I put them in a different category. I like dips are like like pizza dipping sauces,
right.
And sour cream. Like those are dips.
Okay.
Like a dip is a dip, and like salsa, I never really considered salsa a dip. Okay, we're gonna get to a couple of things. Microsoft is about $1 in the money. Nvidia's pulling back. I don't consider salsa a dip, Ramin. No, it's it's a condiment. Salsa's a condiment. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could look that one. I think salsa's in the condiment category. And if I'm wrong, then fair enough. I'd be willing to admit that, but I'm pretty sure it's a condiment. Let's get to Sector Watch with Adara.
Mixed look across the board here. Lots of weakness here in energy minerals. CVX especially very much to the downside here. We also have some weakness in consumer durables led here by Tesla down about 4%. Commercial services and consumer services both a little bit weaker as well. It's also worth noting here that we have a bit of strength with the exception of Apple to the downside after that Spotify EU fine here. Everything else mostly to the upside, specifically the chips with AMD, Nvidia, and Qualcomm leading the way here. Also worth noting both Broadcom and Marvell set to report later this week, so chips definitely on watch. Finance, with the exception of some weakness in BRKB, a lot of positivity here as well. Health technology and technology services a little bit more weak here, or mixed, guys.
So with all this talk about dips, you guys are probably right. That a condiment is a type of dip. That's fair. I still say it's a condiment, but it is what it is. You guys can make your distinctions however you want. Just an idea for you on Microsoft here. If we come to the chart, where this thing bounced, look at the accumulation at $412. Now, obviously, in 100% hindsight, this should have been a good buy zone. And if you look at this accumulation on Friday off the fail breakout, so fail breakout through the Thursday night high, right? Fail breakout there. Dip and accumulation at 412, and then it goes stair step up. That should have been a buy zone, but even if you missed that one, you look for the higher low after that. I then took the breakout trade of the highs. That was bad, then good, reload no good, then wait for it to get into VWAP, and that's starting to work out. But I think that 412 was a missed opportunity in Microsoft. We'll just sort of play as it is. Oh, here comes Funware. So Funware just wicked the 15 level again. Now I think it's headed to VWAP. See if I can actually pick this up off the 15 level. I won't stare at it this time, but it's starting to come back in heavily. Of course, the second I want to get on the offer. Now it's just going to halt down. Forget about it. Let's get over to Dell. I know a lot of people are yelling about Dell as it pulls through VWAP. Watch out here. I mean, the market is holding the 18.3, but this is getting a little bit top heavy. Microsoft pulling back into the 15s, now only 60 cents in the money. Nvidia pulling back at 8.53, that still looks pretty strong. But Dell underneath VWAP, not the best sign in the world. This has been a good flyer, and underneath 125, it's red. Underneath 124.5, underneath that 125 VWAP, you're talking about going from green to red here on Dell. So that was a rocket ship. I think the rocket is now Nvidia, as it's, it's up at the 855, it's holding the highs, it's a nice little stair step to that upside. AMD, I don't want to put any disrespect on AMD. That's double topping as well, but Nvidia looks a heck of a lot better to me, up at those tops and looking to break them out. So I'll go Nvidia over AMD for now, but I don't mind trading either one. What's SMCI saying there, DJK? You tell me. Oh, wow, okay. 1100, eh? 1100 on SMCI. You know what? I said this. How has AVG, like Broadcom, I think Broadcom needs to split. That would make a lot of sense. But we should be talking about SMCI on a split. They're going to be going into the S&P 500. We already know this. I don't know the exact date. I thought after the 1080 level, there'd be some dip buys. And then what did I do? Do I go over to SMCI and dip buy? No, I go over to AMD and I go over to Nvidia and dip buy because I guess I don't like trading SMCI. But the dip off of VWAP, there's your fail break at 1080. Dip off of VWAP, and now you're ripping. Thankfully, NVIDIA is following the same pattern. So I get the benefit from NVIDIA going on this trade. But I'm not taking 1100 breakout. I think you look at the same thing that happened at the 1080 level and look for a dip buy off a failed break at 1100 instead of being the person that punches the top. Instead of punching the top, look for another way into the stock that's a bit more reasonable to get you a good risk to reward there. I think the conservative approach is to try to play a dip buy when a stock is trading to the upside.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that.
Mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I think definitely wants to keep on watch. Going right back into that 1100 there, so maybe I was looking for that potential hold on that 139 here on the arm. And yeah, so we did kind of pull up into that 140, but let's see how well we do in and around some of these levels there. But that 1100 coming in real hot on SMCI, we could just break right through. Again, we're talking about looking at Van Eck at the same time, kind of to see if we can push that sympathy trade on that level there. There goes the 1100 on SMCI. So I'm just going to pull it up here on the second chart here. So SMCI, here we go.
You know what? Here's an important thing.
What's up?
I mean, there was just this guy on the channel. He looks a little bit like me, only he's not as handsome. And he was saying, don't take the breakout. Hey, what up? Raheem, what's going on, brother? I just told everybody not to take the breakout on SMCI at 1100. I'm like, wait for it to dip a little bit.
You gotta listen to Neil, whatever it is.
21% this thing is up.
Wild.
Don't listen to Neil. That's it. Do what Neil would do.
Do what Neil would do.
Yes.
I would fade the Dallas Cowboys. I would fade the Baltimore Ravens. I would.
Disregard.
We're just playing around. Look, again, you've got to trade your own book. And the way that I look at SMCI, when it broke 1100, I don't think you're wrong until it's $10 down. So if I was taking that breakout trade, I don't see any way that you're not giving yourself a $10 stop. Right? And that's at minimum. Plus slippage, you're probably talking $13. So if you're trading where you're okay with giving a $13 stop, that's fair. You can give it's $1,100 stock, fine, that's fair enough. But as a day trader, it's a little bit different. I feel more comfortable trading in Nvidia where I can have a relatively tighter stop and feel like I'm not going to get run. $850 stock that doesn't trade with as big of a spread as SMCI is going to at times. Nvidia is going to have a 20, 30 cent spread, which is fantastic on a stock this expensive. When SMCI goes, you're not looking at that at all. Okay. Brad, Amazon is coming back to $180.
Ooh.
So my order is there. I said until it gets there. I'm like the whole time I've been here for this breakout, only because I think it could just immediately pop to like 30s then 50s, and like I want to scalp it to that level, to that probably that first quarter or that 50 level. Just hopefully get in at like 05s or something, and then just take a quick scalp trade. But I pull it up, and then if Neil pulls it up, it's not going to break. What is going on with your stock here, Obi? Should we just be shorting this 180 level?
I have no idea. Again, like I said, I haven't dabbled in the Amazon in quite a while there. But again, if there's like 3,000-4,000 lots sitting at the level, definitely worth taking a watch there on Amazon. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to be watching this SMCI and this ARM right now. Again, kind of putting that Tesla to the back burner for now. Clearly, I'm on the wrong side, not thinking the right way, making irrational decisions when that range breaks, such a distinct range from last week. Why am I continuing to take the long there? Absolutely not following the plan. All of these notes, what are they for? Again, a little distracted maybe on the push there. So yeah, that 140 coming in on ARM as SMCI pushes through that 1100. So let's see whether or not we can get into VWAP here. What is VWAP here on ARM? I got that 143, so about 3 points away from that VWAP there. Let's see if this SMCI strength can carry us into that level there. I have no idea. Again, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to stay waiting. A lot of the morning momentum is kind of starting to diffuse now. Dell still slowly on its way back to the downside here, as you guys can see. Take a quick look right here. So we did test that 129, and we are pushing onto back into 124 there. But yeah, so now we're gonna have
No.
sorry. Well, we're gonna have Neil.
It's 10:50. We have not gotten the call yet for Money Talks. I don't think we're not doing Money Talks here today. But here's what I'll say. Bitcoin holding above 66 hundo. Nvidia at the highs, because that's what Nvidia does. What's frustrating me is, well, outside of Amazon not breaking 180, but Microsoft is getting a little bit annoying at VWAP in here. Like, it just got to 416. Remember 416, actually, let's go back here. Remember 416 is a double top. Double top here at 416 from last week. That's not the price you want to fail. So I don't need this getting back under VWAP here. I'm going to, if that's a wick and it's failing the 416, I should be dumping this. Amazon just broke. So I'm just getting my stop on Amazon. I've moved my trail on Microsoft, and Amazon just broke the 180 level. I got 10s. Okay, that's creative. So I think I crossed up to like 22s and got slipped to 10. This better go right away or it's no good. Come on, hold the 180 level. I'm not even giving this back to 179.80. I'm actually out at 90s there. Got to work right away. At 10:51, if it's not working right away, then I should be looking for the dip buy instead. You wait around that long for the break. I intended to make it a scalp trade into the 50, and then if I would have held some for the evens, but Amazon breakout, no good, got 10s, out at like 87s as it came back to the 90s. About 25 cents worth of risk, maybe a little bit more than I would have liked, but at the end of the day, the breakout at this time kind of stinks. Going to hang on to Nvidia. This feels a little bit stronger. It's holding the breakout trade, and we got the dip buy. I would jump back into it if we got a chance. Wow, Apple. I think this might be it. Like, Apple cannot get to VWAP. Well, I just got Rivian short. That popped back in for me. But Apple can't even get back into 175. Wherever this move gets to, if it's VWAP, great. If it's 75, great. If it fails here, I need to get into the Apple short. Been saying it all morning, and all I did is make one short, and it was a keystroke, and I got out flat. But now we're at VWAP here on Rivian, so the open range bottom was right around this 180.5. If it holds this right in here, 1080.5, then we're going to be short into VWAP here on Rivian. We were shorted early, took about 25 pennies, just took the range trade. The same range is in, like 25 cents to the bottom. So risk 10 cents to try and get out within the 25-cent range at this bottom here on Rivian.
Yeah, I'm just kind of patiently watching this. We're patiently watching this arm here as that SMCI kind of pushes through those highs. Again, like I said, trying to be a little patient here, and let's see if it can kind of come right back in there. So 140 is holding right now, but I'm looking for that pullback. Let's see if that pullback comes in. There is the ES dropping kind of down there aggressively. You guys can see that that candle kind of forming there. How much time? We got about 6 minutes left for the 15-minute to form there, and the ES is taking quite a bit of a pullback there. And there goes the NQ as well. So yeah, let's see if we can quickly kind of take this back through that 140. It would seem right here on the arm. Do have to stay as nimble as possible.
You're shorting arm, right?
Yeah, because like if we come right back through that 1100, I do kind of want to be a little bit short here.
Oh, I like that short. That's, oh my goodness, arm was this. I liked 142 on arm, and it turned at 141, and then it gets back to 141, and I'm still thinking 142. Yeah, good look there. Arm is weak, man. No question about it. Arm is looking very, very weak. The other thing to keep an eye on here is the futures turnaround. I want to see if I can get some Apple. Is that Dell trade? Like Dell's holding under VWAP here. Suddenly it can't break 125. That could be a little something for a short, but the weaker name is Apple, and Apple can't get to 175. But the market turns here. It's such a tight stop. I don't like stopping out on Apple with less than 10 cents. That's way too tight. I think 175 is more the level here. So the only way to play that is to get in a little smaller at this price and be willing to give it to the 175 level. So I'm finally short Apple. I said I might short this consolidation. We'll hang on to the last piece of Microsoft, but I moved my stop up, and Nvidia we're still holding on to. Amazon still beneath the 180, so that's worth a look there if you're interested, if it can take it again. Funware did get down to VWAP. I just didn't get the short into it. So Funware still up 97% or 96%, but starting to pull back in here on PHUN. The new position for me is Apple. Should have been short this a long time ago. And by that, I just mean like an hour ago.
Yeah.
It's not really that.
No, it's,
like in trading terms, it's a long time.
Oh yeah, I think in trading terms, like even if you say like 5 minutes, 5 minutes can be a lifetime when it comes to trading there, depending on what kind of trading you're doing, of course. But yeah, no, definitely Apple off the open. It seems like it was the short there, and yeah, coming right into what is that level? Back through that 175, but it seems like on the rebid, where is VWAP right now? VWAP's at 175.14, so we are kind of maybe making our way back into VWAP there, but still trading below VWAP, so relatively very, very weak compared to some of these other names like Amazon, like Microsoft, and the like. Again, kind of different from the Spider as well. SPY is pushing towards its highs there a little bit more, or maybe even more sideways. We talk about it being a little bit more sideways there, but Apple definitely not sideways on the day as it is kind of receding back in towards those 170s. Maybe we even get those 160s today, Neil. I have no idea, but we're about 4 points away, so maybe that's asking for a little too much. But it does seem like Apple has been quite weak over the past couple of weeks, while the rest of the names in the market have been catching quite an aggressive bid, again, with the whole AI move there. There goes 1120 on SMCI, absolutely wild.
Well, it's coming into that 175 level. I said I'd take a little less so that I'd wait for it to get to 175, and it's starting to get close. I'm on the offer here. SMCI just did a little wick shimmy at 11. And I might get out of Nvidia here. Definitely some out, but I might actually get all of it. I moved my trail up on Nvidia. Oh, there's the wick shimmy. It just bounced. Never mind SMCI. SMCI just did this wick, and it looked like it was breaking back down to 11, and then look at that, boom, fresh highs immediately. Like I was just looking at it and getting a little bit concerned about this move, and then look at what a ridiculous run this stock is on. 23% to the upside. On 23% on SMCI. You've got to be kidding.
Absolutely wild.
It's an absolute rocket ship. Apple's now at that 175 level. I got 72s here. Why are you saying boo, Sharif? Sharif, a second ago, this morning, Sharif said and this is like when it was here, Sharif's like, I want it at 175. He bought in the long-term account, now he wants it at 170. I'm quickly gonna point something out here for Sharif, and that is, once you've bought the stock, generally speaking, after that you want it to go up. That's just me. I mean, everyone has their own strategy, and I'm not here to disparage anybody's strategy. But once I've got long a stock, I kind of stop cheering for it to go down. That's just the way that I roll. I don't know, and the funny thing about it is that's the last thing anybody's expecting, Sharif. So maybe you're going to catch the market off off guard by wanting Apple to go down now that you're in it in your long term. That said, I'm short into VWAP here on Apple, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Why do you want it to go down? You just bought it.
You want more discounts? Wow, he's like, I want more more discount. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Apple might be poised for a little bit of that. I mean, it has been kind of selling off. Who knows? I have no idea.
We're just having fun. I know,
but there
he
goes
wants the
SMCI.
DCA. He just wants the dollar cost average.
Yeah, of course. No, I think it's been working well, right? Like Apple off the 100, 130, 150, 160. It's all been great, and then we kind of push into that 200, double top 200. Doesn't really follow through. SMCI making fresh highs there, and a little bit of a failure to follow through there on the arm as we kind of push in. Dell pulling back in as well. So is Tesla. Good thing I got out of that Tesla. Tesla continues to sell off. What the hell was I thinking? Absolutely no idea there. Well, I did have an idea. I was just being stubborn with it, and I have to catch myself when I'm being stubborn there. Kind of continuous talking kind of helps me forget about the plan, and I do have to kind of remind myself what my original plan was. And okay, so we're coming right back into that 139. What's going on? What helps with that, Neil?
So we only have 20 seconds left, but every now and then, I know you guys will be watching the show, and you'll see me do this all the time. Generally speaking, I try to do it when like Sean's talking or when Obi's talking. I am constantly looking back at my iPad to remind myself of the prices and the levels that I wanted to trade at and the stocks that I wanted to trade at. And every time, you can rewind the tape. If you see me get flat, I'm just looking over at charts and other stocks, and I'm looking at my prices. What is the next trade? What is the thing that I wanted to do next? So that I don't just jump into something that wasn't part of the plan. Like I need to look away from like my screen and look back down to my plan of action in my notes. And I know you've got your notes next to you there, Obi, and I think that can help.
I haven't been looking at them. That's the problem. Like here's my issue sometimes. I get lost in the sauce. So I'll put in the work. I'll put in this time to make some plans. Whether they're good or not, who knows? But I'll have some plans defined. But then in the moment, I'll kind of forget, kind of get lost, be like, okay, and then maybe get anchored to an idea. And this was kind of what was happening last week. Get a little too aggressively anchored to an idea, but the idea is far and gone. The level is gone as well. The idea as well. And shout out to the real deal with Neil, a lesson with Neil. He talked about that last week in and around that time that was happening. I was like, all right, yeah, I definitely need this wake up call a little bit there. But again, refreshing it and applying it real time is a whole different thing as well, right? I gotta do a little better.
That's the right one. There's a look. We'll be back. We'll be doing that as normal. It's past 11 o'clock. We're gonna send you guys on over to Learn to Trade. It's gonna be shorting the pop. So it's interesting because
like
shorting
that.
is a strategy which you need in your toolbox. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, and don't worry. I know Sean's off. The aftermarket show will be there just like normal. Got the NOS boss. I'll be back at noon for the lesson of the day. But right now, let's get over to the professor and Adara. Let's learn to short.
See you guys.
Thank you for the nice setup, Neil. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as